Reeta and Glenn on the internet.
Glenn and Reeta on the internet.
And Caleb is back with us once again.
Yeah, he didn't leave us.
Nope, came right back.
For now.
Right, correct.
Summer is coming.
I was on
so-
the verge of getting fired, though.
Well, by who?
By who, friend?
By whom?
Yeah,
It'd
okay.
be-
Fine, by whom? Is this what we're doing tonight?
Well, my boss, apparently.
Stop it. Stop it with that. There has to be compensation in order for someone to be your boss.
Oh, he did say, he was like,
I
your
said-
pay's getting cut next
Yeah.
time.
Caleb messaged me. He said the audio was off last week, which, first of all, Reeta and I would never know.
No.
Caleb messaged me and said, hey, the audio was off last week. I'm sorry. I'll do better, Captain. And I said,
Oh, okay, thanks.
And I said back, you had better or we're not paying you for the next one. Good to have Caleb back with us. And as always, I've heard from some folks, and maybe who knows, but yes, we are open for you to buy us, to purchase us. For me, all of me. Every ounce. For Reeta, she's not going that far. For me, you want me to tattoo something on my butt cheek? I'll do it.
Listen,
I'll do it.
That job is already taken by Calvin.
Yeah, but he does it for free. I'm not doing it for
But
free.
This is true. This is
I'm
true.
doing it for a price. What was the story on when the Orioles had to win a World Series for us to get tattoos?
It was in 3 years of the
Oh,
show.
so we're good.
So we
We're
made
clear.
that.
We're good.
We're
We're good. That ain't happening.
We made that.
Yeah,
We ain't
right.
doing that. I mean, look, it would have been fine by me.
Yes.
Right? I would have been.
No, but I wanted them to win that year specifically
because
because
the Javante Davis
that
tattoo
was the
one
big
that
bet.
Yeah, I put that on the table. Yeah, that ain't going to be something we got to worry about.
No, and we
No,
were
it's
not worried
absent.
about it.
Not a concern.
Sure, they're on currently a 3-game
That's true.
win streak.
Don't
That's
call it a
true.
streak, baby.
But yes, if you want to purchase us, or if you want to purchase some part of us, whatever it is that you're looking for, hit me up, glennclarkradio@gmail.com, and we will talk to you about it. Before we get into the sports topics, Reeta told us something before the show that's maybe the wildest thing.
No. You want me to? That's in my no.
No? Oh, okay. We will give up. We will say nothing.
we
We
will
will
talk-
say. Apparently, I was doing what's called reading ahead.
Yeah,
That's apparently
what I did
was
to you
doing
last
there.
week.
So I was reading.
Don't tell them.
What-
It's in. I wrote this down.
I was in chapter 4, and she said, no, chapter 1
We're in
is
chapter
where the
1.
book starts.
It's
Overachiever.
coming up.
Let's start it there.
It's coming up. Trust
Chapter
me.
4, we'll address it then.
It's a story. Sorry, Eric. I'm telling it. Telling the story.
I don't know that you've ever used his name before. I don't know that that's ever. I think we've
yeah.
always
It's
said.
a code name, actually. See,
think
that's
we've
where
always-
you're wrong.
Actually, I mean, I ain't gonna even lie. That's his name, right? But it's such a generic name. Like
Yeah, there could be a lot. That's a great point. It could be.
Lest,
I
anything.
could be talking about Eric DaCosta.
Let's
you
be.
know?
Well, I don't.
I don't think
no,
so.
Yeah.
It could be a Ravens
Oh,
story.
it could be any
See,
Eric.
this is
Yeah,
what I'm
I
saying.
got
They
it.
don't know
I
the
got
story.
it.
You just telling. Yeah, you just telling. You know
Hi.
what I'm saying?
Hi, friends.
It could have been a story about something that Ravens GM Eric DaCosta told me, because Eric and I are very good friends. I made that up too.
Former Orioles quarterback Eric Zier. No,
I mean,
Orioles quarterback, former
Eric-
Ravens quarterback Eric
I'm
Zier.
trying to tell you, it could have been a lot of Eric Davis.
That's a former Oriole.
You know,
Orioles legend Eric Davis. You want to play the Eric game with us?
No, I don't.
No?
No, I'd lose.
How about
The only name coming to my head is...
all-time single-season rushing king Eric Dickerson? Huh?
Boom.
How about that, Eric?
Insane.
Could be that Eric.
We were just talking about therapeutic actions. Here you go, just naming off athletes.
Yes.
Oh,
That's what men
brother.
do.
Yep.
That's what men do.
That tweet that boys can just be happy naming athletes
Yep.
for hours.
Yep.
For hours.
And you literally just tried to start.
And it doesn't even. When we play the Eric game, when I play the name game, it doesn't have to be an athlete. It could be any Eric. It could be
Yes.
comedian Eric Andre, for example, star of Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23. Yeah, it could be that Eric if you'd like.
What
It could
show
be
is
any
that?
Eric. It was a show that existed maybe 13 years ago on ABC that no one watched, and that streaming it has since been rediscovered, and it's wonderful. It's
Okay.
absolutely hilarious.
Okay.
He also has that
Side-splittingly funny.
conversational show on Adult Swim. I don't remember the name of it, but he.
You know what's funny is I realized up until this point, she would think we're discussing a white man based on the way that we've set this all up.
Eric Andre.
You said Adult Swim. I'm talking about an ABC sitcom. All of it sounds very white.
And yet he's not.
He's
No.
not.
Okay.
Not even a little bit. But everything that we just said sounds like we're describing a white man. That's the way it reads in my mind if I didn't know who we were talking about. As Rita mentioned, we are taping this before the Orioles game was set to begin on Tuesday night, and at the moment, the Orioles have done something they hadn't done all season. A winning streak. 3 in a row, baby. The Orioles have won 3 games. Does that change anything about their reality? No, not in the slightest. They're the type of team that could win 3 games in a row, and you look up and say, wow, they're really bad. Really bad. Those 3 wins do nothing to change that. Who knows? Baseball's a funny sport. They've gotten better starting pitching of late, and perhaps if that continues, then they could be more interesting. Am I willing to bet that's going to be the case? No.
Well, you did
Certainly
have
not.
Buck on your show this week.
Yes,
he said
you did.
they're going to win 10 in a row.
He suggested that.
Definitively.
Yeah.
They're going to win 10 in a row.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
That's 3 down, 7
so,
to go.
So people ask me about this. Buck's an interesting character, right? Like Buck, who I love. I love him. Buck and I spent maybe 3 hours chatting on Friday. Or whatever day it was, Thursday. Whatever day I talked to him. We ended up talking for a very long time about all sorts of topics because Buck's in that part of his life, right? And as Buck always likes to say, we all have time. Whenever I talk about, well, I got to do this, he'll say to me, he's like, Glenn, you have the time. I'd be like, you're right, Buck, I do.
Man, don't bring up therapy
Buck
around him because he'll tell you, you
right?
got time.
100%.
You got time.
It's funny because I want to get into it talking about another potential managerial candidate, but yes, Buck's name has come up a bit.
Not happening, I don't think.
I don't think it's I agree with that part of it. I don't think it's happening. What I'll disagree with someone dismissing it as not being a good idea. I dismiss that altogether. That feels like what we're supposed to say because you just don't see this type of thing happen. So we're supposed to say, well, you don't do that. That's not the way it works. This actually is the exact profile of a manager that the Orioles should be looking for.
Well, that's not why I say that. I mean, I know obviously he was here for years, right? We know that. But I think for me, it's not about what he did here. It's about his last job and what he didn't do. And do you look at that and say maybe Buck is maybe the message just doesn't come across the same way that it used to. I mean, all these sports evolve, right? And that means that, sometimes the messenger, particularly these older managers, older coaches, depending on what league you're in, the message might not come across the same because these young men that are playing baseball are not the same young men that maybe you managed to coach 15, 20 years ago. So for me, I think obviously his resume is qualified, obviously, right? Particularly people here in Baltimore love Buck Showalter. But are you saying that you're bringing him back because, it's like, well, he's had success here, we want to see that? Or do you really think that he is what this organization needs to turn things around? And if it's the latter, I question that just based on the fact that you're seeing reports come out from the Baltimore Banner like Hyde didn't lose the locker room, he didn't lose his people, he were calling them soft. Well, so if the manager wasn't the issue, why do we think,
that's a separate conversation.
Why do we think a different type would do better?
Here's what I
just think I think a younger guy
maybe
potentially does.
Maybe,
I think we have to stop recycling guys.
But this is where I'll push back. I think the Orioles have to recycle someone with this hire, and we'll get to that with another candidate that's come up. I think that was the problem ultimately with Brandon Hyde and Mike Elias, is that Brandon Hyde didn't have the cachet to push back on Mike Elias.
Okay, so if you're saying that you need somebody seasoned because that's what you need, I agree with you 100%.
I think this hire uniquely is the profile should be an experienced manager.
I agree with that.
Someone who has the chutzpah, the big stick to be able to say, hey, man, sometimes we're going to do things my way.
I agree.
We're going to do that my way sometimes. And I respect it. It's not – and by the way, we could get into a deeper conversation about Buck uniquely because Buck was someone who was almost anti-analytics at one point in his life. Now, Buck also realized that's
not going to go well.
That's
what
not.
I'm saying?
But that's how baseball works at this point. By the way, that's why I don't think it'll be. I don't think that Mike Elias would work with Buck Showalter. But to the point about like how it went in New York, right now the number one candidate that has been put out there and projected is Skip Schumacher, who had been the manager for the Marlins and who played for years for the Cardinals and some other people. Skip Schumacher lost 100 games last year. And so, like, the idea that, like, one particular instance of what someone's record was or how it went, that to me will never be dismissive for me as that proves that they can't be a good manager.
That is not my point.
I don't think the issue in New York was that I don't think Buck's issue with the Mets was that the game has passed him by. I don't think that's the case. I think that unique Mets team was handed they spent a boatload of money on pitching, and then the pitchers weren't available. And then they said, well, we got to throw out the guys that we have to throw out. It kind of reminds me of, like, not having any pitchers right now in Baltimore, that you're judging someone when they didn't have anybody to pitch. And the Mets tried. We all talk about how much money they spent on that team, and then it didn't work. Well, part of the reason that didn't work is they threw a ton of money after 40-year-old pitchers. And then those guys weren't available, and when those guys weren't available, they didn't have anyone. They had what the Orioles have to try to pitch with.
Sounds so familiar.
Yeah, right? I guess.
It literally does.
With the only caveat being that Charlie Morton was never as good as the 40-year-olds that they signed
and
him.
so
Right.
And while that's true, the hitter still was there. I mean,
well, and there's some,
yeah, just saying. I don't know.
This is where I am. I think Buck, from a profile standpoint, is an absolute fit, and frankly, is almost exactly what this group needs. They need a culture shock. I would say one of the problems is
I agree with that.
if everything was fine, that's a problem. That's a problem if everything was fine, because it hadn't been actually fine for a long time. And I don't believe that everybody's just – I think they all know it's not okay. It's just hard to say that out loud, to say, hey, it wasn't okay. But I think they need a culture shock. They need someone who comes in and demands accountability, and those were the types of things. Most managers, to me, are – we talk about this a lot in baseball. There's never been a period in the history of the sport where the manager role has been less important. It has been de-emphasized incredibly. But the one thing that I think a manager can still have responsibility for is culture. And for a moment, that's why I gave Brandon Hyde credit, because I don't think the actual decision-making is really something a manager gets to do a whole ton of. But the culture was really good. And for whatever reason, and I still don't know the answer, the culture has gone south. It's been... This is the eternal, chicken and the egg argument. Does winning begat a good culture, or does a good culture begat win? It might very well be that they just started losing, and because of that, everybody just kind of didn't know what to do. But they haven't been able to get out of that. And someone needs to instill something, a new philosophy, a new way of thinking, whatever it is, to get it to work again. When I say I think Buck Showalter be the perfect fit, I don't think it's going to be Buck Showalter. I don't see that happening.
But are you just saying like a Buck Showalter type?
Something like that.
Okay.
I actually, in a weird way, agree, and I can't explain why. I agree maybe it should be younger, but I can't tell you why it needs to be somebody younger. I just think that we all think that everybody needs to be younger.
Because, I said that. The culture is different. Just across sports, period. It's not the same. So you need someone that's going to be able to adjust to where the nature of sports as a whole are now.
Yeah, but
and so I'm cool with having these older guys, but at some point you got to start changing the tide.
I know what you're saying.
That's all I'm saying.
But
and I agree that you do want somebody with experience, but it does feel like the ones that you want with experience that are available are old as hell, and I don't know what that's about.
It's weird because I know what you're saying. Bruce Bochy just won a World Series 2 years ago and is to your point, old as hell, right? Like, I don't know. We all think you're better off with someone younger. I'm throwing myself in that, and I'm saying I think that maybe this person should be younger too. But should they actually
younger,
be?
I'm not saying like 30 years old.
No, obviously that's not what we're saying.
I'm saying not 80.
I think the same. I think the same way. By the way, that is a big deal to me. Because Tony La Russa, you could tell, had no business being a manager when he was the manager of the Chicago White Sox.
Exactly.
If I thought that's where Buck Showalter was, my God, I would not suggest that's the case. But we've all watched. Buck is not starting to. This is not a. Jake Tapper's not going to be writing a book about him in 2 years and trying to profit off of it. We're not there yet. And again, Bruce Bochy just won the World Series. Just won it. And is Buck's age. Like, I don't know if there's a correct answer for how old a manager is supposed to be. I think it's totally possible that it can work either way. I think the profile of what Buck would bring to the table is what you should be looking for in a manager. And that's why the first, report that we've seen about an actual tangible candidate came to us this weekend from Bob Nightingale of USA Today, who said that if the Orioles change managers, which strongly suggests the idea that they are really looking at Tony Mansolino, and I can't believe that's true. But he says if the Orioles change managers, the leading candidate would be former Oriole Ryan Flaherty.
Which we've had that conversation about before. And
And-
I was then years old when I found out that Ryan Flaherty was coaching.
I'm in a weird place with this, Rita, because
he's not the guy based on what it is that you're looking
what
for.
I think the profile should be for a
He
manager,
doesn't
Ryan Flaherty
possess.
doesn't fit. Now, the argument that everybody always makes is profile be damned, hire the right manager. And when you say it that simply, yes, of course.
If only it were that
Of
simple,
course.
dude. Like,
Profile be damned, hire the right manager. Is there a place to go to find out who the right manager is? Is there someone that can tell me this guy's definitely the right manager and this guy's definitely the wrong manager? Because if there is a right manager store, let's go there.
it's right next to the wheel store, actually.
Is it?
Smart.
I'll take you there next time.
Well, I was the one that bought the wheel. How
You've
dare
never
you?
been- You've never been here. You've never been to that one, man.
he
Look,
said-
and I just want to take it here. That was the big point for me last week, and I was excited that you got to talk to Buck. But the Buck-esque is what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So that was the point. I talked to Bob Nightingale from USA Today about it, and Bob Nightingale suggests, because what my biggest concern about a Ryan Flaherty type would be the exact same thing I talked about, that he doesn't have the cachet and just wants to be a manager, and the front office says, well, look, we're going to be making the decisions. You understand that? And he says, right, I get it. And that you
As
become
opposed to pushing back,
you become a bit of a yes man because you just
which
want
you already had.
you just
a
want a job. You just want to become a manager. Bob Nightingale's argument is that Ryan Flaherty would be much more like Buck, that because he learned under Buck, and that was that he would be much more like that from a personality standpoint.
Okay.
And be less of a pushover. Now, to be fair, nobody told me that Brandon Hyde was going to be a pushover. We're all parsing various things to try to figure out how this is going to work. I think the profile needs to be an experienced manager. My opinion is they should hire a manager before the season's over. This is
I want a manager tomorrow.
100%.
So you
Caleb.
guys are not interested in having an interim for the remainder of the
It
year.
feels like you're
because
spinning
giving up.
wheels. You're spinning
'cause
wheels.
Now you're giving up.
This is the same thing as having a lame duck manager.
Yeah, it is. It is. I agree with that.
With the only exception of maybe he could be so good that he gets the job, but that's a stretch, dog.
I mean, he hasn't proven that he is going to be the savior.
We'll-
much less
yeah.
speaking like he's the savior.
We'll reference that coming up here in a minute. There's something that we saw over the weekend that made us all say, maybe he needs to go today. Now, to be fair, since that moment, hasn't lost a game.
This is true.
Of course, I don't know when you're listening or watching. Maybe he has, because maybe they played the night and he lost. But to the point, the only scenario could be that somehow he's good enough to get the job. Otherwise, it's a lame duck manager.
I agree.
And it's never a good thing to me. There's never going to be a world where I say, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, the problem is that if they are using him to audition, if this is his audition for this job, and he's doing the understudy, where the understudy is now the talent,
Mhm.
because the talent is out, and you're trying to see how well you do in this role, they're not going to do that. They're going to spend the rest of the season trying to figure out if this is who this guy is, if this is who we want. And that's the unfortunate part. I agree with you. I do think that if your plan is to bring in someone else, then I think that you need to start that process. But do we even know that's the case, or do we think that this man here is the guy that they feel like that they want to give a chance to?
I don't believe that they intend for Tony Mansolino to
and
get
if
the
he's
job.
not,
I don't
then
believe that.
you need to start the process yesterday.
Now, in just poking around on it and talking to people around baseball that I talk to about this, I get the sense that they also don't intend to hire a manager before the end of the year.
I can
now,
see that too.
I'm not reporting that. I'm telling you that just in asking the opinions of people that I know throughout the game, like people that work for other organizations and people that are aware of that's the sense that I've gotten. What I would say is I disagree with that. The argument for it is you want to have the biggest possible pool of candidates that you can have. And if you hire a manager in season, then, for example, Ryan Flaherty can't be a candidate because he has a job right now.
Correct.
You can't – this is not – you don't just up and leave your coaching job on another major league team that's trying to win the World Series in the middle of the year. It doesn't happen like that. So you can't interview Ryan Flaherty if you want to hire in season. You can't find out if there's a manager who just might be at the – remember the way the Craig Counsell thing worked, that he ended up in Chicago to begin with, was they just got to a point where that job was available. He had been in Milwaukee for a little while. Everybody thought he was a good manager, but it just kind of felt like time, and the Brewers like, hey, we get it. Go ahead. Go ahead and move on. It's okay. We understand. It's probably time. And I don't know who that is, but if there's a manager who has a job right now at this moment who might be – I brought up Torey Lovullo in Arizona, who's just been there for a long time, and they made it to a World Series, but they haven't sustained that. And maybe he's the type of guy that becomes available, and the Orioles look and say, holy crap, Torey Lovullo's available? Like, that's a hell of a manager. We like that guy. But you can't find that out in the middle of the year. I understand why you'd rather be doing a coaching or, in this case, managerial search at the end of the year. But to me, every day that you don't have your manager in place is a day where the culture is not improving, is a day where you are not setting in motion what this looks like to try to compete in 2026. And it's the same problem that we had in the offseason where there's just a lack of urgency here. We all know Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, Jordan Wett, that group of guys gets closer and closer by the day to being free agents.
Yep. Well, one of them can go as far as
I understand at the moment the way that you feel. I get it. Gunnar Henderson next year is arbitration eligible. That means 3 years.
Yep.
Oh
3 years.
Yeah, you getting old, friend.
And if you're not going to extend him, at some point, you're going to want to trade him.
Yep.
And so when we say 3 years, you don't want to wait till the last year to trade him.
I agree.
This has to be now.
I agree
That
with
was why this was such a failure this offseason, is because this is the moment. We're not worried about 6 years from now. This is the now.
Yeah.
And every day that you go by without having an actual manager in place,
plan,
it's illogical to me.
Yeah.
And the trade-off of, well, we want to have a deeper pool of candidates, like, yeah, okay, that's a luxury that I'd love to have, but in the moment, you need to have a manager. Like, a plan.
And, like, in my eyes, let's say Tony takes it to the end of the year, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't see him handling the media or the team very well. Say someone gets traded. Like, I foresee Cedric Mullins getting traded. That's me.
At this point, I don't know how you...
You don't see that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see him
sad.
playing
I'm
very
already
well
sad.
with his squad with that. How do you deal with that? He's already shown that he's not well-versed in front of the microphone.
Yeah.
Then impacting it in a different way, losing a manager, your boss, and now one of your star iconic players. How is he going to rally the troops to play better the next day?
Add to that list, Zach Eflin will probably have to be dealt at the
I was just
deadline.
using a big name,
Ryan
like-
O'Hearn will probably have to be dealt at the
no.
deadline.
No.
These are the realities of what you're facing when you're a bad baseball team.
Everybody can't go.
Rita, I love Ryan O'Hearn. I love him.
Ryan
Everybody
O'Hearn.
can't go.
But
No.
like you
That's the one little bit of leadership that you have in the locker room.
I understand.
No.
I completely
The answer-
get it.
That
but
one is a no.
this is the reality of how these things work. Either you're here long term, either you are part of this thing long term. And if you want to have a conversation about maybe they should address the idea of doing a contract, I don't even know what a Ryan O'Hearn contract would look like.
Well, he's
It's-
playing really good
that's the
baseball
problem.
right
The
now,
problem
so
is
it
the
might-
moment,
it might
right,
look
like-
hey, can you afford Ryan O'Hearn?
Isn't
at
he the
this
second
point?
best hitter in the league?
Yeah,
He's
something
got
like
the-
that.
But that's the issue. Do you really think that's what Ryan O'Hearn is? Because at the moment he's going to say that's how you'd have to pay him.
You're right.
And you
that's
know
the-
what? Pay him. I'm
Yeah.
over it. I am over it. You have money. This is an
Pay somebody.
inkling of
Basically, he said
leadership.
pay
I hear
somebody.
you.
He said pay somebody.
I'm with you on that.
Nobody has taken up
He
the
said
mantle.
pay somebody.
I love Ryan O'Hearn. I'm all in on Ryan O'Hearn. but
And
O'Hearn.
so your point is valid in the sense of like you have to find whoever has value. You're gonna probably have to move.
the
What
way-
I'm saying though is that like, yes, you're right. Bad baseball, blah blah blah. But also to like whatever it is that you decide to keep, whatever that core will be. I feel like what they look like on paper still could potentially. I mean, we know what they were able to do last year from a hitting perspective. They're not doing that now, clearly. But what I'm saying is that I don't know how you can just, we're just going to keep the young ones because, it's RBAs. We ain't got to pay them that much money. And then how is that going to be moving forward? You still need veteran guys. You need a mix. So that guy one guy, O'Hearn, because if Cedric's going to go, to me, Cedric is a veteran at this point. He was here when Adam was here.
Yes.
So you're going to lose both of them? I just don't know
Both.
how I feel about that.
Rita, I don't disagree with you.
I'm just making. I don't believe in. I believe in soft sales, not fire sales.
I think we could have
That's
this
all I'm
conversation.
saying.
I thought they should have kept Anthony Santander. We can have this
well,
conversation eternally, right?
It is what it is.
But I think the problem becomes either you're signing them, or if they're about to become a free agent and you're not winning, you have no choice.
Oh, you
have
right.
no option.
I'm just
you
making the point
have
that
to trade
I'm
them.
just making a point that like, if you're the Orioles, you
Yeah.
definitely need to start having this conversation when it comes to Ryan O'Hearn because, again, I don't. This is still a fairly young team, and I don't know what you do with just let's just let the young kids go out there and do their thing. Well, clearly, them going out there and do their thing ain't working.
Yeah, that's part of the issue.
So maybe you do need to sign the guy.
Look,
even if it's just for like a 3-year deal.
I'm in 3 years, $15 million.
I'd love that. I don't know if Ryan O'Hearn doesn't have a bigger market than that at this point, just because he's producing and I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. As far as Ryan Flaherty is concerned, I'm intrigued. We all love Ryan Flaherty. We treat him like he was a royalty, despite the fact that he was a utility guy. That's all that he was. Yeah. But we treat him like royalty in this town because he's the Jeff Rebele type. We just love those types around these parts. I'm intrigued. I would tell you I will maintain I want a manager with more experience. I want a manager before the season's over. I don't. And for those two reasons, Ryan Flaherty to me isn't as neat of a story as it would be. And you would love for Ryan Flaherty to be the guy that comes in here and changes the culture. And if that's the way it works, I hope that's the case. But my preference will continue to be hire a manager before then and hire a manager who's got a little bit more experience.
This is DJ Shadow.
Okay.
Iconic.
I'm familiar with DJ Shadow,
DJ
actually.
Shadow. This is What Does Your Soul Look Like, Part 4.
Oh, that is very...
Now, I can't believe
that is melodic. Woo.
Here's the problem with this, though, Caleb, right? Like, I don't know that I understand the plot because I missed parts 1 through 3.
Well, they're on this album. Introducing.
This is drum and bass.
This is not. This is actually classic break beats, like hip-hop to its core.
That's what I was... like, this just sounded like almost like a jazzy beat. To
It's great. I totally recommend listening to this.
A sample Tribe would have used 1,000%.
Yes, 1,000% something the Tribe would use. All right, it's time for As Seen on Twitter.
Yeah.
As you know, we changed this segment some time ago. Although I did have one that I found from the week that I still thought was good. I don't know if you guys saw this. The TNT, this is their final series of doing NBA.
Yes, it is.
And although the Inside the NBA show will continue, it'll just air on ESPN but still be produced by TNT. It's a weird thing. But they entered into a partnership with Threads. Now, you might not be familiar with Threads because it felt like Threads had 5 minutes where they had a chance to do something.
I'm on there, but not really.
I'm also on there, but it's only because whatever I post on
Instagram goes
to Threads as well. So they have apparently gone into a partnership with Threads to do like content on Threads-specific content to see if that might help make Threads a thing, I guess. And the crew there is really fired up about it. They are super excited. In fact, Shaquille O'Neal himself was going out of his way to really push their new partnership between Inside the NBA and Threads.
Our friends from Threads.
Okay.
Yeah, the social app have a poll. How should Chuck order his steak?
That's
rare,
the poll.
Medium rare, well done, or burnt to a crisp. Now, I've been out with the man, and I know.
Well, you know I'm going to get it well done.
Well, now you're saying well done.
Medium well plus. I'm trying to stop because
weird,
y'all complain all the time that I get my steak well done. So I'm trying to do it.
Really, Threads?
Yeah.
So that's
really Threads.
Yeah. So Threads.
All this great basketball. That's what we heard about.
All those college degrees from people that work at Threads, and that's what you come up with. Great job, Threads.
Hey, come on, man.
We're starting our relationship with Threads tonight, and boy, what a good start, Shaq. We're going to take a break. You can go to Threads.
Company man EJ.
Threads
conversation.
Company man Ernie. God love him.
Listen, Shaq said I don't give a damn about that partnership. This is a dumbass question.
And he's right, of course.
He is
That's
right.
the dumbest. How is that? God, that's so stupid.
He literally said all this basketball on it.
Right?
No,
Like-
not only is it a dumb question, the options that they gave are even worse.
It's
What the
just
hell is well plus, Chuck?
like it's just so
And
insanely.
So I'm not going nowhere to no steakhouse with no damn Chuck. because he out here shaking the table trying to cut a steak, okay? I'm not interested. You shaking the table.
But this is, by the way, everything about this is why we love this show so much.
Yes.
Which is you can't convince Shaquille O'Neal. Like if somebody next week decides to spend money with us, I will have to sit down with the crew and say, guys, I know we're not really big McDonald's people around here, but we're going to be McDonald's people now for a little bit. Like we're going to be, we have no choice. We love McDonald's. That's the way that it's going to work. Shaquille O'Neal has no concern about such a thing.
It's true.
You could say to Shaquille O'Neal, they just spent $15 million with
He don't
us
give
this
a
week.
damn.
And he's going to say, what does that have to do with me?
It has nothing
Like,
to
what
do
is
with
that?
him, right?
Like
Yeah.
what? In no
He don't give a
world
damn.
is that going to impact him. So if something is stupid, he's going to say, this is stupid.
Meanwhile, the Threads people are probably over there like, oh my God, like he mentioned us like 5 times.
There's something to be said for that. There is something to be said.
So I mean,
for
even
it.
though that was disastrous, it worked. Like people are gonna go over there to see the post, and you know, I already know how this goes. And also, that's not actually untrue because people are not bright. So there's that.
That
They
is
are
true.
gonna
By
go
the way,
over there
That
and
is
look.
the most
this
true
is
thing
the
said on the
saddest part
show.
of the statement is this might be exactly what Threads wants.
Yep.
This might very well be
1000%.
in their mind. They're like,
1000%.
no. We need the dumbest of the dumb. That's what we're looking
And Shaq
for.
said, I ain't falling for it. And they're like, yes.
Correct.
Yes, he's not falling for it.
Just according to
all the
plan.
played out.
Yes.
So there were 2 other clips. I always try to find a clip during a particular week that we can then maybe co-op and we can use for content or to tell stories from our own lives. And there were 2 clips that I came across from this week, and I just couldn't decide which one I was more inclined to use. The one, and Caleb alluded to it, it has been an adventurous first week and a half for Orioles interim manager Tony Mansolino. Just days removed from referring to runs as points.
He just had a little baby hiccup.
That's
you
a thing
know,
that
that's all.
happened.
Whatever, dude. Bill Belichick calls the playoffs a tournament. Okay, I don't see anybody giving him shit.
Well, he won.
Yeah,
6
that's
Super
it. You do
Bowls.
kind of earn that. Whatever, you get to decide what
Damn
it
it.
is.
It's a terrible, terrible,
if the
terrible
Orioles are
correlation.
suddenly the best team in baseball, we're all going to call it points. Like, let's make that
I'ma call it
abundantly
whatever
clear.
you want.
Exactly right. This, on Saturday, the first game of the doubleheader, the last game as of the moment that we're speaking, the last game the Orioles lost, appeared to be maybe we thought that maybe it would have to end this day because the Orioles in the 10th inning, tie game, runner on second base, as we know now in baseball, Rafael Devers coming to the plate with 1 out. Everyone on the planet thought the exact same thing. This guy's hitting 7,000 for the last month.
Walk him.
Whatever you do, this guy isn't going to be the guy that beats you. And the only people that disagreed were the Baltimore Orioles. And when I tell you that I happen to be watching the Fox Sports 1 broadcast because, frankly, their app is better than Masson's app.
Oops.
Get 'em.
Eric Karros was doing the game, the former Rookie of the Year for the Dodgers. Eric Karros was distraught, and he doesn't give a rat's ass about the Orioles. I mean, he was melting down. What are they doing?
This is why they suck. But anyway.
So they don't walk Rafael Devers, and you'll never believe Rafael Devers slaps home the game-winning
Wow.
run. That's the way that it goes.
Shocker.
After the game, Tony Mansolino asked why it is that they didn't walk at Rafael Devers, gave a very clunky answer. This isn't even the whole thing. This is just a small part of it.
You know, if you put him on right there, it gets messy.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
It gets messy.
It's the now look. To be fair, when people do this all the time. Somebody has 2 hits in a game and they come up in the 7th inning. Everybody says, "Oh, just walk him." Like eternally, we just believe the answer is just walk everybody, and you'll definitely get the next guy out. Like we operate with that. This happened in the Brewers series. It was Contreras. Contreras, who came into the game hitting like 230, just happened to have 2 hits in the game. And we all said, well, obviously you should have walked him to face Jackson Churio. Jackson Churio, who we all believe is a better baseball player than Contreras, who came into the night hitting about the exact same as Contreras. And we all convinced ourselves that because Contreras had 2 hits in the game, you can't face him.
Yeah.
You have to face Churio instead. It's just we do it brainlessly. But this is one of those scenarios where
Pretty
Not
cut and
brainless.
dry.
Yeah.
Not brainless.
the runner on first base is irrelevant. You don't have to worry about the next guy hitting a 3-run homer because if you lose by 3, it's the same thing as losing by 1. The only thing that matters in this circumstance is the runner on second base. And for what it's worth, it's the opposite of messy. There's one scenario where you could line up a double play
Yep.
and not face the hottest hitter in baseball.
Yep.
I'm old enough to remember when he was struggling at the beginning of the
100%.
season.
He was. That was the
Sure
thing.
was.
Not the thing at the moment.
No.
So Tony Mansolino says again, Caleb,
It gets messy.
it gets messy. And it does.
got
But not
messy
in this
because of
scenario.
you.
Yes, correct. It got
You
messy.
made it
You
messy.
made it messy.
Raphael
You did.
Devers made it messy. I also, speaking of the Red Sox, they have struggled after winning the first 2 games against the Orioles. They, of course, turned around and lost the next 2, and then they lost yesterday. And Rob Refsnyder is very unhappy about it.
We suck right now.
That's what he has to say about the Red Sox, and it's hard to argue with him because
We suck right now.
they do. He's right about that.
Hey, preach, man. We know what that's like.
So we have those 2 clips.
Yeah.
And Reeta, Caleb doesn't know what I'm about to do here.
Sweet.
I thought maybe we do dueling. Maybe we use both clips for our segment
Oh,
this week.
I get to pick?
You
get to
have
pick
to
which one
you have
it
to
is?
guess which
You have to
one.
guess.
Okay, so you guys will give me a nice response when I play the
we
right or wrong.
we're going to give you the setup, and you have to figure out which punchline you think is supposed to be delivered. Is it, we suck right now, or
It gets messy.
it gets messy?
Okay.
All right? So we give you the setup, you figure it out, and then we'll see how Caleb does. Between the 2 of us, we have 9 setups.
Yep.
So we'll see. I would say if Caleb goes at least 7 for 9, that's success.
Yes, it
right?
is.
That's success.
Let's make this baseball. I'll go.
You want to
to
go 3 for Caleb, if you miss one of these, I think that would be shameful. Just for the record.
All right.
I'm trying to set you up. For example, right?
Okay.
What if perhaps maybe a young person in your life, a young producer, not Caleb, a young person in your life is telling you about his plans for date night and says he's going to take her to his favorite Mexican place, and you say, don't do that. And he says, well, why?
It gets messy.
Yes, of course.
There you go. Ding, 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 ding.
Brother, here's what I know you don't want to be doing is ducking out and saying, hey, I got to run down for a pack of cigarettes real quick and going and trying to use the Royal Farms bathroom. That's what I know is a bad idea. I love you, and I love Mexican food. You can go to the Mexican place the next night. You can go to the Mexican place when you've been in that relationship for a little while.
Not
when
on a
you've
date.
reached a certain point in the relationship, go right ahead and you go to that favorite Mexican place.
Valid.
But you're early on trying to pick that date night. Let's pick anything but that.
But Mexican.
Let's just pick
Don't wanna
anything
flare that
other
IBS up.
than the Mexican place. And I know you're a young man. I understand it doesn't affect you the way that it affects all of us. But still, let's not roll the dice because we've all been in that situation where you think that I haven't said, oh, hey, don't mind me. I'm just going to run down. I totally forgot I needed to get gas tonight. I needed to, so I'm just going to run. Give me just 1 second to run to the Royal Farms bathroom.
Oh my God, bro.
It gets messy.
Gets messy.
Gets
messy.
messy.
1 for 1.
All right. When you're online arguing with a stranger, which is more than likely a bot, because you know it be bots everywhere, and you have a great comeback, but it comes to you in the shower 2 days later.
We suck right now.
Yes.
2 days later,
Dog, I mean, you
eating up your brain
you
space,
just like-
dude.
You're just like, damn, why didn't it come to me like when I was arguing on
By
the
the way,
internet?
this happens to me when I'm trying to prepare Would You Rather Wednesday. I'll be lying in bed on a Tuesday night, and it'll hit me. Like, oh, I've got the
guy.
perfect setup for Would You Rather Wednesday. And instead of grabbing
Writing
my phone,
it down, you go to bed.
like I just say,
I'll
yeah,
I'll
it was,
remember
it was
that.
so good. It was
I'll
such a
remember it.
dynamite thought in my mind. And then 2 days later, after on Wednesday, I can't remember for the life of me. Then on Thursday night, it pops into my mind, and I'm like, son of a.
We suck right now.
That's the way that
See?
it works. That's the way that it works.
Terrible.
All right. When, like, for example, my friends from Quebec message to say, hey, how are things going down in America?
We suck right now.
Yep.
That was a gimme.
That's the reality.
That's a toss-up. That's a
That's
toss-up.
the reality.
That was
Yep.
the biggest
It could have
layup.
been either of
That's
them,
the
man.
reality.
Layup you could have.
That's the
How are
reality.
things down there? That's such a rhetorical question.
It really
But they don't
is.
mean it. They're asking me politically. They're just asking more in generally, like in our lives. But
Oh,
when
but
you
it
throw in
hits
the
you- oh,
when
there-
you throw in the in America, yeah, there's
Yeah.
only one response. That's the
Okay.
way that it goes.
We suck right now.
All right. When you're out with your girls, having a good time, and you see one of your friend's husband there, no issue. But he's with another woman.
It gets messy.
Yeah.
It gets messy. It gets messy. It gets messy. It gets messy.
Put it on repeat.
Oh boy!
It's about to be some slow singing and
no!
flower bringing.
I'm gonna let you be the judge, Caleb. Did Rita steal my setup?
Did I?
I had sent her this one as an
I
example.
did not see that.
I
did
had
not
sent
see
her
it.
this one.
Did not
Let me
read
hear yours. Let me hear yours.
When my ex's husband messages me about getting our families together, and I think, oh, that would be nice. But then my wife says, didn't we find out they were into alternative lifestyles?
Oh,
It gets messy.
No,
It gets
see,
messy.
that's not the same thing.
It's kind of similar, though.
It's not the same
Not
thing.
the
It's definitely
same
still
thing.
messy.
It's
still
kind of
messy.
similar.
They was trying to get messy with you.
I don't even know that that's necessarily what it is. I feel bad now.
You
and
should feel bad.
I really like them. I like them a lot. Like
Not
they're
as much as
Do
nope.
you like- do you
It does
like
not
them
like them a lot.
I
Nope.
know.
Those are two words.
that
Those are
much.
two phrases you use when
Not
you
that
do.
much.
Yep.
But and like he reached out, and I love like this is the funny thing. I dated her like when we were in college. You know, it's forever ago. It does
so
count.
weird.
Starting to
He
get
he and I
weird.
were boys. Like I love this
This
guy.
is
I love this guy.
weirder. Last week he discovered polyamorous relationships. What's this
We
week?
still
No,
gotta
I didn't
wa- we still gotta
discover it.
watch for book club, by the way.
I brought that. Caleb said, I didn't do the homework for last week. I said, oh, you didn't watch the documentary? He's like, oh, no, I didn't make a new I'm Tired open. I forgot about the documentary. He went 0 for 2 on the homework last week. Unlike some of us who watched
I
the
did not.
documentary. No, I could tell. I'll get to that in a later. I'll
Look,
I'll
man,
bring
read your-
that up.
read
Going
your
on
books.
vacation.
I'll bring that up later.
Read your
Go ahead.
books.
I gave my next one. What's your next one? Yeah.
All right.
I think you stole it, but that's okay.
You know,
That's
hey,
okay. I think
No,
you
that's a
stole it.
totally different one, dude.
It's pretty similar.
It is. All right, when you're up at 3 a.m. and you ain't got nothing else going on, so you turn on a Tubi movie, and then there's a scene with a guy, 5 women, and a horse in a barn that breaks out of nowhere.
It gets messy.
Yeah, because what the hell is
Where are we going
on?
exactly?
Mm.
Where are we
Tubi.
going
Tubi.
exactly?
Tubi movies are the wildest movies, y'all. Like the wildest movie. Like if you want to laugh at horrible movies but be entertained, please go to Tubi. It's so
Tubi.
bad. It's so bad.
I've spent no time on Tubi in my life.
it's
Not
so-
even.
no.
No, I've heard this phenomenon.
Literally,
I'm
me
familiar with the
and
phenomenon.
That's all we do. Like when we get together, is like watch bad Tubi movies, and we just sit there and either complain about it because it'll get good until the end, or just laugh at how bad they are.
Of course, when she refers to E, she's talking about future Eagles Hall of Famer Eric Allen.
There we go.
Is who she's
There we
referring
go.
to.
Yes.
That spot.
Exactly.
All right, one more for me. When anyone at any point in my 41 and a half years of existence has asked me, hey, how are things going with Maryland football?
We suck right now.
Sorry, man.
Now,
And to be
Now,
fair,
they got-
it's not always the case. It's just easier.
they
It's
got,
just
they
easier.
got a 5-star and a 4-star coming in.
They do. They do. They have lots of good things. happening.
If I know one thing from my NCAA video game, that recruit's not changing your program.
You always think that one guy. Caleb spent 13 hours. He went on 175 home visits. He has used up all of his effort on that one guy.
This is true.
And then it can't even change anything.
All right,
That's
I got
literally-
one more.
Okay,
one
okay,
more.
okay.
Last one. When you go on vacation, you know, just hey, it's Memorial Day weekend. I'm going away, and your boyfriend says, "Hey, I'm gonna probably just hit the Beyonce concert. No big deal." And then he goes up and ends up hanging with Beyonce and Jay-Z at the end of the night.
We suck right now.
I mean, come on.
Should have been there. Be better with your vacations. Sorry, man.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Wow.
Did he just drag me?
Wow. I mean, maybe he
Look,
has a point.
From what you were telling me earlier, let me just bring it down a little bit.
Okay.
Bring it back to earth
All
a
right.
little bit.
All right. Now, wait a second.
Maybe it's on you. Maybe
Wow.
it is on
No,
you.
No, no, no.
Not on
Wait.
me.
The evidence that was presented to us that you knew there was some level of relationship between your boyfriend
Yes.
and the parties involved.
Yes.
And so perhaps that meant there might have been a chance of something like this occurring.
Now,
Man.
I hear you not banking
You're
it
like,
all on
yeah,
Mike.
right?
Right?
I booked this. I did not know that he was going to the show until the day before the show. He didn't mention it to me until the day before the show. I'd already booked my trip. I was already there.
Stressed on the beach now.
I was already there.
Literally stressed. Like,
Literally.
no.
But you did see the tour dates. You did
Yeah,
know
I
when the
did.
tour was
But
coming
guess-
to New Jersey.
Hey, but
you
listen,
did know
look,
that part.
Bay hadn't been feeling good, you know, so I didn't think that he would go. I didn't think he would make it. That's a long day for him. You know, so I didn't think he would go because, you know, again, that's a lot of walking. That's a lot of, you know, and I didn't think he was going to be able to make it.
So have you shared publicly what happened?
I have not shared publicly what happened, but that's what happened. That's what happened.
But
That
the
is
other,
what happened.
The other part.
We
of
gotta hold on
what
to that for a
happened.
little
what
bit.
other part?
The part where something was said.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because
oh, yeah.
I want to know. Can
Okay.
we say it or?
Yeah. So, anyway, ain't no pictures. So here's the thing. Like, one thing about Beyonce, she don't do anything but you can't post anything, okay, without her permission. So I don't care. And if it ever gets out, she can just be like, oh, she lied. I mean, it's fine. But my boyfriend said it happened. So he said his phone lit up, and we both have the same picture on our phone. It's a black and white picture that he and I took at the mayoral inauguration.
Adorable.
And so it's a very nice picture. And something came through his phone, so it lit up. And she said, oh, is that your girlfriend? And he said, yes, that's my girlfriend. And she said, oh, wow, she's pretty, and y'all are a beautiful couple. I said, Beyonce said I was pretty. And I'm not letting it down. I'm going to scream that nobody can say anything about me anymore.
Nope.
I don't give a damn what your opinion is about me in terms of looks. First of all, I never cared anyway. Let's be clear, because you was always going to be a liar if you called me ugly. That being said, Beyonce stamped approved. Stamped approved.
I know you hear
Beyonce
that.
didn't stamp approve you.
For
She
the-
stamp approved me.
I want to know how you would have reacted if that would have happened.
Probably
in
would
your-
have gotten put out.
That's what I want to know.
1000%.
Would you have been able to have been cool?
No.
Would you have been able to be like,
No.
oh, thank you, my friend Beyonce.
Well, you know what's
Thank
funny
you."
about that? I probably would have said that.
Yeah?
Because in my head, Beyonce is my best friend.
So do
My
you-
head.
You said thank you, friend.
have I
I would
ever
have been like, thank you, bestie.
have I have I ever told you the story? Do you do you remember Kerry Williams, cornerback for
yes,
the Ravens?
of course.
So if you might remember that Beyonce did halftime when they
Yes.
won Super Bowl 47. And then she and Jay-Z showed up at the Ravens after party. Mary J. Blige performed.
I was supposed to go to that.
So
Another FOMO.
so Kerry
Just
Williams
trauma.
I
had
just keep missing things.
Kerry Williams had a young daughter. And when I say young, I don't remember exactly what age we're talking about.
Okay.
Somewhere between 4 and 8, I
Okay.
will go with. And Kerry Williams brought his daughter with him, and it was adorable to the after party. And she got to, of course, meet Beyonce and meet Jay-Z and all of those things. They're getting ready to leave. And apparently, Beyonce and Jay-Z could not have been more affable at this. They were not standoffish. They were
Yes.
not, we're major celebrities.
Correct.
You're just football players. Like, they were incredibly any person at the Ravens Super Bowl party that year. And so as they're getting ready to leave, Kerry suggested maybe we go say goodbye to Beyonce because, this is never going to happen again. We're never going to have another opportunity. Maybe she'd been very nice to everybody. We just go say, hey, it was wonderful meeting you. Thank you for making my daughter's night, all of those things. His daughter said, no, we'll see them tomorrow. Because his daughter in that moment was the age where she was convinced that they were now close friends with Beyonce.
Me.
That they were now.
I am the daughter.
Yeah, right.
I am delusional like the baby, okay?
Right.
I'm Delulu, okay?
I would just love the idea of Rita being like, oh, yes, Beyonce, thank you for saying that about
absolutely-
me.
I would've said that.
also find you to be quite pretty. Like, just very.
I absolutely, because I'm such a goofball, like I know, I mean, in my brain, I would have been screaming like I was screaming, but I would have been like, oh my God, bestie, thank you so much. And then she probably would have been looking at me like, okay, she's a little off,
And
And
you're
I'd
like,
be
oh, whatever.
I'd be like, Beyonce, like, I just feel like we're the same person. Like, we're both Virgos. We do a lot of the same shit the same way. I mean, we are meant to, if you ever want to talk to a regular human, if you don't want to talk to the people that
Yeah,
you got to
right.
talk to,
The other.
you can call me. I'm not going to tell anybody.
So the story on her. She
I
like
won't tell anybody.
the story is she changes her cell phone number like
I can see that.
every couple of months.
Yeah.
And she'll legitimately like text everyone in her phone like, "Hey, it's Beyonce." From the new phone
can see
number
that.
every
'Cause
couple of
somebody,
months.
you never know. Somebody
Yeah,
might
right.
start giving out numbers.
Look, this
Well-
past weekend, I actually met a person that I really look up to and is a Baltimore club legend.
Okay.
Ooh.
Are you guys familiar with James Nasty?
No.
I'm not
But
gonna.
why-
I'm
but
not gonna.
why
I'm not
would-
gonna lie and pretend. To
I
you
love
that
Baltimore club music, so I don't
I'm
know.
not.
What's his name? Like, what's his
His
DJ
name's
name?
James. That's his DJ name, James Nasty.
No, that was his birth name.
Man, magic. Yo.
Mr. and
No,
Mrs.
I
Nasty.
I got
son.
fam- I got
thought that he
family.
I thought that he had like another, like, I don't know.
I have family whose
It's
last
actually
name
a
is
biblical
gross,
name.
so I get it.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, I met him didn't know it was him because I've never seen him in a light place. I've only seen him in the club, a dark figure
Right.
DJing. And my friend introduces him as James, and I'm like, hey, what's up? And we have just a great conversation about the DJ scene, about like DJ methodologies and like approaches to doing the craft. I was like, man, this dude's cool as shit.
But
I bought some of his hot sauce, which, oh my God, this is what
He
Old Bay
makes
hot
hot
sauce.
sauce?
Yes. Talk about the craziest thing ever. A DJ that also sells at Chuck's Trading Post. You can get the habanero hot sauce made by DJ James Nasty. Later that night, I'm hanging out with one of my friends, and we're just talking about the breakfast we had with his friend. I was like, yeah, dude, James is super cool. He was like, yeah, I can't believe we saw James Nasty at breakfast. I said, who? He's like, yeah, that was James Nasty. I literally had to leave. I walked out of the premises. I was like, I didn't know that was James Nasty.
Oh, that's funny.
But I'm so happy that I wasn't privy to that because who knows how I would have
How you
acted.
would've acted.
Yep.
Right, exactly.
But like I met him, I was like, me and James cool now, dude.
Yeah, that's your
Me and
friend.
James
See
are
what I'm
cool
saying?
now.
That's my friend. Beyonce, we're friends.
But then after,
Okay,
wait,
I'm just letting you know
but
we're
after
friends.
you had that initial exchange, you would need to walk away maybe for a second to compose yourself.
No, I would have been like, hey, I'm telling you, I would have been like, you know, we're friends now, right?
Okay.
And then she would have been laughing.
But I'm saying at some
probably
point, right, at some point
uncomfortably.
when they excused themselves and said, it's time for us to move on with being Beyonce and Jay-Z, what would your reaction then be? Would you be texting everyone you knew? How would you be handling yourself?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Because the closest thing I can give you.
But the next day, I'm definitely
Right.
I'm gonna let it sink in that night. The next day, I'm hitting the group chat. I'm hitting the VV chat like, "Hey, Beyonce, I met Beyonce. She said I was." I'm definitely telling my friends. Now I ain't going on the internet and saying it.
This
I'm telling my friends. I say I ain't going to the internet, but I'm on the podcast.
Buying a journal and starting the first entry. Like, this is it.
The night I met Beyonce.
The night I met Beyonce. And then the next day be like, remember when you met Beyonce?
I can give you the white man version of this.
Okay.
All right? And this will mean, I think, less to you, but this will be significant enough that even you will understand. Caleb will absolutely understand.
Okay.
People will ask me everything that you've done in your career, what's the one thing that, like, and the answer has never changed and never will change. I recently brought it up in a class I'm taking. When I was, 20-something, Stan Lee, the creator of Marvel, of everything Marvel, was coming to do Comic-Con or something, and miraculously agreed to call into the show.
Okay.
Now, Stan Lee is...
I know who Stan Lee is.
He's a one.
I know
he
who
is a...
Yeah.
The idea of Stan Lee calling into a local radio show anywhere
That's huge.
is unfathomable. But somehow, and I have to give Ryan Chell credit for this, because I said, hey, I got one you'll never be able to pull off, but go for it anyway. And he was like, you're not going to believe this Stan Lee is going to call in. He's going to call in. At the end of the interview, the last thing that Stan Lee said was, I thanked him for his time, and he said, thanks, Glenn, and you're a hell of a good interviewer.
No! I would have been screaming.
When
I just got chills.
When I say, I professionally said, thank you, Stan Lee. And then I said, Ryan, I'm going to need you to cut that clip and prepare it for me to send to everyone I have ever met. And I screamed.
Stamped.
And I reference it, I don't go a week without bringing it up at some point. And, I definitely still have the audio. I assure you of that.
That's right.
There's a lot of audio in my life that has disappeared that I'll never be able to find.
That ain't one of
that
them.
one was not one that I
That
was
ain't one
ever
of them.
going to lose. I bring it up constantly because in the moment, yeah, sure, I'll be cool. I'll still be a professional and finish the interview. But let me make something abundantly clear. I'm not cool. I'm not okay.
Yes. I'm not okay.
Not okay.
I'm not okay.
One of the greatest artists of all time just said, thanks, Glenn, and you're a hell of a good interviewer.
Hey, change. That absolutely
would've
would have
done it.
been my bio tag. Stan Lee said I was a great interviewer.
For a little while, it was.
Stan Lee
Abundantly
stamped.
clear. It
we were
was.
on the same page.
We don't have audio
don't
for
have
this
audio
one.
for
We don't
this
have a
one.
transition. I kept waiting for the transition for the next one. Thank you, Caleb. Ravens OTAs begin this week out in Owings Mills. Obviously, their OTAs. There's nothing more to be said. At some point, Lamar Jackson will not be present for at least one of them because that's the way this works.
Does.
And there will be 20 internet think pieces that will somehow try to portray that this has anything to do with what Lamar Jackson is going to do.
Glenn and I
this
don't
year.
care, for the record.
You're never going to get
Maybe
me to care.
Caleb either.
No,
So
I've worked with you guys long enough to know like this is a non-story.
Ever,
we don't care.
Ever,
we don't care.
Ever be able to get me to care. I say all of that to say, I do wonder what we actually care about between now and when the games start. What is it position-wise, depth-wise? Because the idea of like, oh, so-and-so looks good. Stop it. Stop it. Nope, not a thing.
Don't get caught up in OTA.
I understand
Did you see him catch that ball at practice?
Again, I'm not even mad. Our friends will have to go out there. Jonas will have to go out there. Jeff will have to go out there. Cordell. All these people that have to go out there because it's their job, they kind of have to justify that it's their job. So they have to come back and say, you know who was really turning heads at OTAs this week was Tez Walker, right? And like we have, and this is even a knock on Tez Walker. Maybe he's going to have a big role with this team this season. I don't know. But what I know definitively is nothing that he does this week at OTAs will have anything at all to do with whether or not he's a good football player.
I agree.
Those two things will have no relationship whatsoever, but that's what we do. The only things that really matter are who's starting, who's lining up, who are they giving jobs to, who are they clearly lining up. And to me, the biggest question mark that I have is who's the left guard on this team, right? Like, is it just Andrew Voorhees because we default to Andrew Voorhees because we thought that's who it was going to be a year ago, and maybe our expectations were too high for someone who had missed the entirety of this previous season? It was always outlandish to think he was just going to step in on day one and be a starter.
Right.
Is he the default guy? Is there still a Ben Cleveland conversation to be had somehow in all of this? Is third-round pick Emory Jones, who played, obviously, tackle at LSU, but the number of people that I talked to...
Is he available? I thought that he would not be available.
No, he is hurt right now, so we won't get that answer in the OTAs, but we will presumably get more of that answer during training camp. But between now, we're not getting any definitive answer in OTAs. Whoever's lined up in OTAs could just be that guy because, to your point, the other guy's not available. Between now and when the season starts, the biggest roster-based questions that I have are left guard, and who's lining up next to Roquan Smith. Because I think it's easy to say, again, we think it's going to be Trenton Simpson because a year ago that's who it was supposed to be.
And it started that
was
way.
Trenton Simpson. Yeah. And I don't even know that Trenton Simpson necessarily lost his job as much as he missed a game and then some other guys played and we were like, yeah, those guys look
are playing
pretty
well.
good.
Yeah.
Maybe we ride it out with those guys a little bit. But to me, those are probably the biggest question marks I have about the actual functionality of who's starting, who's getting the majority of reps, because linebacker is another position where a bunch of guys could play. When the games start, I'm interested in how they're using Malachi Starks and Kyle Hamilton. With Ardarius Washington being sidelined, you would think they both kind of have to play more traditional safety roles, but they clearly drafted Malachi Starks because they wanted to have two players who could both kind of be Swiss Army knife. You don't know what to expect.
Right.
You don't know where it's coming from. Kyle Hamilton could be lined up in the box, but actually playing safety, and Malachi Starks. So I think they're still going to want to do an element of that, even with Washington sidelined, and you know who that means. We won't learn that until the season begins.
Correct.
We can't learn that until we actually start playing football games.
Right.
Whatever you see during OTAs is irrelevant. They're not showing anything that has anything to do with what they're going to do when they're playing football. But to me, the left guard is the one that I have probably the biggest. I know that you're still down on Daniel Faalele. You're not the only one. I understand.
I am. Okay. I think that Faalele had played better than how he ended better than how he started. I think that he is at best average to mediocre. I don't think he's bad anymore. But I don't think he's good either.
Well, I wouldn't want to move him back to tackle for sure. I would have no interest in him playing tackle again.
1,000%.
But at guard, I thought he was functional and better than functional a good bit of the time.
I thought he improved for sure. I'm not gonna sit here and say that I didn't think that he had gotten better. I still think that there were times where I saw some misjudgments, and it concerns me. But what concerns me more, I think, is that whatever Ben Cleveland did, if he's not good enough, let him go. If you don't like him, let him go.
Yeah,
that's my issue.
I get that
because Faalele at one point was really bad, and it wasn't a solidified job, or should not have been a solidified job. But, we had heard some things in that off season going into the season about how they didn't like, how he was preparing and all of these other. Okay, so then what's the plan? And I always feel like we never know the plan. I don't know if this young man was in that guy Harb's doghouse, but if he is, like, what do you do to get out of it? And how do you get in a situation where you can put yourself in a position to, at minimum, compete? And that's the part that I just what are you doing? That's my question.
I get where you are. I still think they needed depth. I still think
they need depth.
Purely, and especially before the draft.
But if you're not going to play him, then what's the point?
Because somebody's going to get hurt.
Well,
and the alternative is either somebody who, while we're disappointed by, does have experience, or like a 5th-round draft pick, right? Like, I do understand. I was surprised they brought Ben Cleveland back, because I just thought the DUI was going to be the thing that's going to make him say it's just not
1,000%.
It's just not worth it anymore.
It just makes it even more weird that happened, and then he's still.
But it also made him less desirable, and probably allowed them to get him at a price where they were like, you know what, man, we got to have depth. The thing that I think eternally, we can talk about how they miss Patrick McCary because he solidified left guard, and he did, and they have to find a left guard because of it. But what they really missed about Patrick McCary was they had someone that could play every offensive line position.
Essentially every position.
And the value that brought, when we all thought that Patrick McCary needed to be a starter a couple years ago, but they said, we don't feel the same way. To us, this 6th offensive line spot is as valuable, if not more valuable, than a starter, because he can do things no one else can do. I'm not trying to pretend like Ben Cleveland is that guy. He's sure as hell not that guy.
But for what reason?
Just because we haven't seen him be that guy. I can't assume that he's that guy. I'm just saying I think they wanted depth. They wanted someone that they had seen before, that knows the system, that understands the way they do things, to be a backup, which they otherwise don't. The only other backup with experience they had on the roster would have been Nick Samak, who was a 7th-round center a year ago. Like, I just think they wanted a 6th offensive lineman on the roster who had actual experience.
Extremely important. Definitely agree with you there. I'm just talking about the journey that we've gotten to up until this point, where there were times where I just could not understand how you were still just letting this play out. And it feels like, you're allowing your ego and your petty to kind of push things through and push things forward. But hey, if they like it, I love it.
I look, as a 6th offensive lineman, I have no problem, right? And I don't even know if he's the 6th.
Exactly.
I would assume that Emory Jones might really well be the 6th at this point.
Well, they drafted 2 LSU guys. So my thing
Dellinger later on in the draft.
So my thing is like, is he even the 6th offensive lineman? I mean, yes, it sounds good because he is essentially a veteran at this point, and he's been with the team for a few years. But like, if Emory is okay and something happens and then he goes out there, it's like, well, what's the point?
I get it, but I think it's just the depth. So I would say that, and I would say inside linebacker. But again, I think that when we see them line up the first time, it will be Trenton Simpson by default. I think the interesting part to me will be, is that Trenton Simpson because we're telling you it's Trenton Simpson, or is it Trenton Simpson until someone else
comes
in and earns the
emerges as a better candidate to stand alongside.
And then, are there snaps to be had for a Tez Walker or a LeJontay Webster or somebody like that at wide receiver?
LeJontay is a guy that I would have to assume they'd be more interested in terms of special teams
returner,
because of Hardy's. He's gone. So it would be interesting to see. But I would love to see them start implementing LeJontay into some offensive packages as well. I think there's a dynamic about him that I think that you have to use him more than just special teams. I'm not obviously saying that he needs to be in every series, but you can create some plays for the kids. So.
I would like that, but hopefully they don't have an injury, because that would be the reason why you would end up doing it. I hope that's not the case. Those are some of the questions, but some of those questions we can't answer, obviously, until we get to football.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
I'm so tired of this British white man already. I'm tired of the Brit.
Look, I just dropped the ball. I was supposed to make one this week. I didn't.
I'm tired of the British white man.
I actually forgot how it sounded, and I don't know. I love it. I love it. I remember why I chose him, because it's so weird.
I'm tired.
I'm tired.
Because he sounds tired for real.
What was the documentary with Booby? What was My Sweet Booby?
Oh,
remember
Booby.
where she kept calling
My Sweet Bobby.
But she always
Booby.
it was Booby.
Booby.
I don't know why I love that to death. Do you want me to go first?
I do.
All right. I'm tired of Monday holidays. I realize
not.
this.
I
This
love
is
it.
nope. I've got
Love
a
it.
thought process here.
Love it.
No.
You're
Stop.
1 second away from getting muted.
Stop. As we all know, I have a problem with midweek holidays. It's a mistake that we make. There's no reason why it needs to happen. Christmas doesn't have to be on December 25th. We can do Christmas on the Friday, the 4th Friday of December. We can do a lot of these holidays. We can do the 4th of July on the 6th of July. It doesn't matter. We get obsessed over it and it causes problems. I'm realizing now the correct answer is always Friday. It's always Friday. Always Friday, because here's what happens. Here's what happens.
Tell me.
We have a Monday holiday.
Just
Tuesday's a wash.
Yep.
It's a wash.
That's why
We're
I
not
like
It was amazing.
We're not accomplishing. Nothing's accomplished.
Yep, good.
We are not interested in accomplishing anything. And you know what we're not going to change our mind about? Is Friday. Every Friday, no matter what, it's a wash anyway. So now we've gone from it's a 4-day week to it's really, let's be honest, a 2-day week.
Okay, I'm not seeing the problem.
No.
1000%.
No.
Man said,
No.
y'all out here not doing no work.
We,
What?
That's the problem. We all have work to do.
So what?
We all have
And it's
work to
gonna
do.
wait a day.
No, we all have work to do, and it's not getting done. Like, for example, somebody might owe you some money, right? Let's say you've done some work in the past, and for like a contract work, and they owe it to you. You know what's not happening? It ain't happening this week. Because they're not thinking about it. It's
just
not.
Because of Monday?
Because Tuesday becomes a wash, and then Wednesday is the day that you start to think about things. No, watch it.
You made it up.
Do walk around your office.
Yeah.
Tomorrow will be the first day anyone even considers productivity.
Yep.
And when I say consider, they're still doing the stuff they didn't do last Friday because last Friday was a Friday.
Yep.
So new work, at best, they're getting to on Thursday of this week. Friday, when we have Friday holidays, Thursday just becomes Friday. So we really only lose 2 days. By the time we get back to Monday, we're all good. Everybody's back to normal. Everybody's able to function. Everybody's able to be productive again. When we have a Monday holiday, the entire week is a wash. The entire week is a wash. No one is accomplishing anything productive this week. They are spending the week recovering. They are spending the week today sobering up. Tomorrow, addressing what they didn't do last week.
Okay, that's about enough from him. He's muted.
Thank
He's
you.
muted.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Yep.
Thank you for muting him. I've had enough. No, nobody. You're supposed to hear and complain. People are overworking, underpaid. So guess
no.
what? First,
That's part of the problem.
So,
It's part of the problem. I
okay.
want to get paid.
Well,
And we don't all have government jobs.
Let's start.
It doesn't work that
let's start
way.
here.
You're gonna
Let's
get
start
muted
here.
again.
We
No.
should only be having 4-day work weeks anyway. So
That's-
okay, yep.
Let's start here.
Different conversation.
So the fact that I got a 4-day work week that ended on a Friday and then the 4-day work week that started on a Monday is perfect sense to me. So there's that. If you got a problem with people not doing something for you, that's your problem. Maybe you need to start figuring out how on Tuesday you need to start chilling.
It's not happening.
Maybe on Tuesday you need to start chilling.
Your
Or maybe
answer
you
is
just
none of us work.
No, well maybe you need to just succumb to the fact that we just don't be working on the
We
day after the
have to
holiday.
be a
No,
functional
we don't.
society.
No, we don't. If the president don't, I don't have to do it either.
Now, I understand your point.
If the president
I do
don't,
understand your
don't
point.
either. So, no.
Valid
No.
retort.
That's the first one that I'll give you, is that you make a point with that.
If he could go to
we
if he could go to the golf every other day, then I guess what? I could work 4 days a
have
week.
to be a functional
doing
society.
it.
We have to be. And when we have a Monday holiday for a week, we are not a functional society. When we have a Friday holiday, we understand by Monday, all right, it's back to the real world. This is the way that it
Not
goes.
really.
No, it's definitely
No,
not
no.
the way it goes.
Nope. On a
It
Friday,
usually takes a half a day on that Monday to even start working.
a half a day is better than losing the entire week.
It ain't the entire week. You say by Wednesday
Man,
people start
you
doing
By
work.
Wednesday, we think about it, but we still have to make up the work that we skipped last Friday. That's
You
the way
just
that it goes.
reek of the man right
No,
He really does.
no,
Like, literally,
no,
you
He got
reek.
billionaire boy vibes.
This
Yes.
is no,
He really got
no.
good- yo,
the man
you
wants you to
sound-
work on Memorial Day. I'm not suggesting that.
No.
I am simply suggesting we move the holidays to Fridays
No.
so we can all get on with
The
our
answer
lives.
is no. The answer is no. Next point, no.
I wish I could get on board with your I'm tired, man, but you just sound anti-person.
You do.
What does that even mean, an
You do sound-
anti-person?
So I phone it in on a Tuesday. Sue me.
This is who we are.
Yes. 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 I mean,
We're all gonna phone it in.
Yes.
Somebody's got to do the work.
Well, then you do it.
That's
'cause
the
I'm
problem.
I'm not doing
I
it.
end up having to be the one.
Well, then sorry.
I think
for
we
you.
found the root
Did
of the
you-
problem.
did
The root of the problem is he projecting on us because he got to do the work.
You're unhappy with the
That
subtle
is the
retort.
problem. Did anybody else watch the documentary this week? Anybody? Somebody had to be the one doing the work.
Well, I was on vacation, so.
Yeah. What were you doing today?
Work.
I was driving home. What? First of all, my flight ain't get in till 2-something in the morning. And then I stayed in New Jersey, and then I had to drive home. So no, I didn't have time to watch your damn documentary.
It was your idea.
Damn it.
It was for next week.
You keep putting it on me. You had the
It
idea.
was for next week.
You
because
said,
I was
let's
busy.
bring it back. You wanted to bring back book club.
I do want to bring back book club, but I was on
Not
vacation.
a Memorial Day
Yeah,
week,
thank
especially
you.
not the week
Because
after
the week
Memorial
after
Day.
we're
It's a
punting.
wash.
Because we're punting the week.
Yeah, it feels
I
great.
didn't punt the week. I'm punting the Tuesday.
I got people that owe me money. You got to get back to work. You need to pay me. You owe me money. Go back to work.
Again, reeks of the
All right.
man.
No.
My
This is
turn.
about me. I don't care about being productive for anybody else. I don't need you to make money for Super Mega Corp. I need you to pay me. Me. Go to work.
Man, I cannot wait till your boys are old enough to work.
I'm tired of Glenn telling us that we got to go to work. That's what I'm tired of. I'm tired of Glenn out here telling me what to do in my life. Okay? I am content.
Get me a
with my
government
life.
job. We'll have this conversation. Do they need a fat radio DJ?
You are not fat anymore.
And you're not a disc jockey either,
That's
brother.
true. I'm none of these things.
No.
I'm not on the radio anymore. Look at that.
Wow.
0 for 3.
Okay, what are you actually tired of besides Glenn?
That's it.
That's a perpetual I'm tired, though.
That's it.
Like,
Yeah,
today
I'm
he had, I get how he would be tired of me, though. He had to double text me and be like, Caleb, are you good?
I did have to do that.
Yeah.
This is the type of stuff that happens on the Tuesday after a Monday.
Yes, it
night.
does. But the best part is that you
Caleb
knew that.
was out hanging out with
He knew.
Mr. Nasty.
Mr.
If
James
you're
Nasty.
nasty.
Mr. Hanging out
He
with
was
Mr.
hanging out
James
with the Nasty Boys over the
James,
weekend.
if you want to hang out, this is not. I'm just
and-
putting it down here.
And
I'm down.
Caleb had no. I tried. I just want to know. Mrs. Clark's like, you gonna be home for dinner tonight? I'm like, I think I'm supposed to do the show with my pals tonight, but let me confirm with them. And at noon, I still had no confirmation.
I was worried for a minute. I
None.
was like, I think he quit. I was like, Caleb quit on us.
Noon. Mrs. Clark's like, hey, so do I need to make dinner tonight? I'm like, you know what? Don't worry about me. I'll fend for myself.
Yeah, you
Because-
don't get that luxury that I have.
Yeah,
What are you
not
doing
your
later?
concern,
Yeah,
right.
I don't know.
What are you tired of?
That's the
Frank?
way we
Man, this is a classic one. You guys have heard me say this before, maybe with this new audience. I'm so tired of migraines. I don't know how many people on Earth are susceptible to them. I don't think we've had this conversation about you guys having migraines.
Not really.
Holy shit, they ruin your life.
You need to get the shot.
The
Doesn't
Botox helps, but I also know that Botox you need to do frequently, right? Like
Right.
multiple times
But
a year.
if you have headaches, the insurance covers.
That's a whole different topic,
Okay.
especially talking about the man.
Okay. Oh, there's that.
Go to work.
On
He does
Friday.
go to work.
Exactly. And on Friday, I had to stop half of my life because I got a migraine at 11 a.m.
Oh my
and
gosh.
like literally just I have this awesome compression mask that my neighbor got me that you put in the freezer. So just like
Oh, it works.
oh yeah, it squeezes the temple and it's nice and ice cold.
Oh, I need that.
But like throws the whole day away, man. My day's a wash. When I
Yeah.
wake up after my migraine nap, I'm hungover. Like it's literally as bad as a drinking hangover. And it just takes a whole day away, man. I literally worked from like 7:30 a.m. till 11:30 a.m. and I was like, dude, I can't even work the rest of the day. All my friends, I hit them up. I'm like, dude, I can't do nothing. I was supposed to get breakfast with one of them. He called me. He was like, dude, don't be lame.
Don't be lame. I got a migraine.
I lit his ass up. I was literally yelling
But
at
isn't
him.
there something you can take?
There is a responsive medicine.
Yeah, my wife has it.
But
I know.
again, it's the insurance conversation.
Yep,
That's another
that's
thing I'm
another
tired
thing,
of. But
yep.
I'm just generally tired of being afflicted.
Well, I don't blame you for that.
Yeah.
I played.
But you the one out here telling us we got to
Go to work. I
And now
played.
he even
I
can't.
played-
He upset about his own insurance.
I played 2.5 hours, and not even really 2.5, more like 2 hours and 10 minutes of tennis on Sunday night. And I went to do the dishes when I got home. And when I tell you, I went to bend over to put something in the dishwasher, and I screamed.
You back?
Screamed.
You back?
I said, oh, there we go. And let me tell you, Rita, I've actually been proactive. I'm just a straight shoot. I, Glenn Clark, am taking peptides. Thank you, Game Day Men's Health Owings Mills. Thank you. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Thank you.
Thanks.
I am taking peptides because I'm in that, like, I'm in my 40s and nothing feels right anymore,
Okay.
like, phase of my life. Although I thought I was, like, low T. I went and got tested. They were like, no, you're actually lots of T. You have super T, like, is what they
Wow.
described. But I'm still, it doesn't change the fact that, like, when I wake up in the morning, I go through a 3-minute process of, like, like, just every morning. right?
Okay.
So they said, well, we can put you on, it's like protein, right? Like peptide treatment. I'm like, okay, does it work? And they're like, well, everybody says it does. So I said, that's good enough for me.
Give me the placebo.
Yeah,
then.
right.
Whatever.
By
If
all
it
means,
works,
I
it
don't
works.
care if it's.
Yep.
I don't care if it's a placebo.
If they tell me it
whatever.
works.
And I'm telling you, when I woke up in the morning, I have not gone through the same production, right? But it didn't change what it did to my back on Sunday night.
I am dying at the thought of Glenn making that internet sound.
Yeah,
Like the reverb makes it like.
And by the way, I played tennis from 8:30 to 11, so I didn't get home until 11:30, and I did the dishes at 11:30 at night because I remember we were doing things with our friends on Monday, so we needed clean dishes. And so I'm doing the dishes, and I just go to put something, and the noise that I made, it was like I had gotten shot. Like I had been shot in the face.
Were your boys around?
They were upstairs.
Not around, so like.
Yeah, they didn't really like.
Because I can literally only imagine you making that sound. Your boys be like.
My wife panicked. Because our room, you've been to it since we've remodeled the house, our room is now right next to the kitchen. So I scream, and my wife just shoots up. What? And I'm like, just my back. Just old man played tennis.
For pain.
Yeah, just old man playing tennis.
Trying to not put away dishes. That's what I have to look
Screaming
forward
for
to
pain, that's
for the
all.
rest of my life.
Sorry, friend.
It's okay.
You're okay.
He'll get better.
You're
You know why?
Yeah. Go, Glenn. Go, Glenn.
Look at the little toes he's worked down there.
It's time to go to work for America's fastest growing game show, Spin the Wheel!
Did not go to work.
Spin the Wheel is
Take a nap.
Spin the Wheel is brought to you by work. No one does it.
Try today.
Not this week. Get back to you next Monday.
Oh my God. I wanted to say before this week, I want to revisit the Schrodinger's wheel comment I made last week. I got a lot of praise from that from my
good.
friends and dad that listened.
good.
He was like, "Yo, that was
Pretty
top
good.
notch."
That was pretty good. It was pretty good. We've been so meta. We did it one time with Tyus. Do you remember that?
You guys did a game show with Tyus?
So a guest didn't show up for a show
Oh,
one time with
yeah,
Tyus.
yeah.
And I was proverbially spinning wheels like in the second segment. And so we started talking about the wheel segment, right? And we were trying to explain it to Tyus, and I finally just had to be like, well, Caleb has to like make the noise of the wheel. And so then Tyus is like, wait, what does it sound like? And so then Tyus did the wheel sound.
That's fantastic, dude.
It was really good. It was
Oh,
really
that's good. So
we love him so much.
you guys ready?
I guess we could do this show with. We kept talking about doing a show with Tyus.
Yes, we should have him call in sometime.
Or just have him like be a fourth mic. You know, like we
See it
put him
right
up
there.
on. We can pull him up on Zoom. We're on the internet now. We can do lots of
I
things.
love
that
that.
we
We
I
have the
love that
technology.
idea.
All right. Anyway, you want to spin the wheel?
Sure, man.
Here we go. That's a wheel. That is a wheel. By the way, I'm going to give it away. Caleb early in the show was reminding me I needed to move a little bit quicker to wrap up a segment. Let me tell you what he's not going to do is end that wheel any quicker.
He's never
That
gonna end the
wheel
wheel
is
quick.
going to hit every click that it needs to click.
He is
There's not going to be
gonna
a
hit the wheel
bail.
quick.
Sometimes, for example, the wheel would still be spinning in the background, and Greg would just start reading.
Yo, Greg would be like, it would be like,
Yeah.
he'd be like, so in
And you could
today's
still
news-
hear the wheel, because remember, we had an actual wheel.
No,
You
you-
could still hear it. I know, we always do. I understand, Kel. We always have an actual wheel. You could still hear the wheel in the background, and he would just start reading what allegedly the wheel had landed on.
But it hasn't landed yet.
I know, that's the problem.
No, it didn't land.
Caleb is going to make sure that wheel lands.
And landed with an emphatic womp womp. A huge bummer for local hoops fans as Caitlin Clark will not be playing at the CFG Bank Arena tomorrow night. A quad injury has her sidelined for the matchup against the Mystics, and tickets, starting at the $200 range, have crashed below $25. Did you know this is one of the first regular season games she's missed in
A
over
long
5
time,
years, 6
yeah.
years?
including college.
Including
Yeah.
college. Yep.
Although she didn't play in Unrivaled. She didn't play in the same. A lot of the stars played in the 3-on-3 league.
Yeah, she just
Right,
She didn't
right.
play
chose
in that.
not to.
Yeah, she basically said, "I'm fatigued."
Yeah, I didn't blame her for that at all.
So how we feeling about the quad injury, pulling her
I'm
out?
sad. Look, I'm supposed to be covering this game tomorrow for the beat, And, I'm still going to do it, but now I have to come up with a
different angle,
a
different storyline. Yep.
I mean, and look, the angle could just very well be like, this is I believe this is their debut here.
This is the first time there's been a WNBA game in
Baltimore. So even though you're not going to see Caitlin, it's still a big deal. But, and look, she'll be there, I'm sure. I'm sure she'll be present. She's just not playing, you know what I mean? But it does suck, you know what I mean? Those tickets at one point were like $700-800. And I was like, hey, I don't even think I spent that money on Beyonce. I know you're my best friend now.
Right, close person.
I'm just making this sense that I don't think I spent $700-800 on the tickets for her. So
It's okay. I don't think she spends $700-800 on you.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
I think that's fair.
So the feeling might be mutual there.
Great
so
point.
there's that. But so the tickets were that expensive, and so obviously people wanted to see Clark live. Now, the good thing about this is only one of 2 games, I believe. There's a second game.
The second game is the first Sunday of NFL season, so I believe it actually works out because it's an afternoon game, and of course we know the Ravens are playing
play
at
in
night.
Buffalo, yeah.
So
you will have an opportunity to see her, but I know that if you paid.
It doesn't help the people that put it.
$700-800 for these tickets. I understand that, but I would, if I'm you, and I know that this is why it is so. I don't want to use the word dangerous, right? But just so frivolous to ride on seeing one person in basketball and anything, right? Maybe this is your opportunity to enjoy the league as what it is.
So I have a couple thoughts, right? A couple different things have run through my head about this.
This is why it makes it so like dawning on just one person.
Mm-hmm.
Things like this happen, and it's nothing you can do about it.
That's a fact.
And so, maybe you should just be a WNBA fan or a Mystics fan or a Fever fan, and go with that.
I legitimately said to a buddy of mine, the one joy I get out of this is knowing there's someone who's a terrible human being, who has, as we talked about before, has fetishized Caitlin Clark to represent their own racism or their own misgivings, who's now out thousands of dollars. And either is going to do one of 2 things. It's either just going to be out the money, or is going to decide they're out so much money that they're going to be forced to just go watch an actual women's basketball game, which otherwise they wouldn't do. And there's some perverted weird joy that I get from the thought of that.
You and me are the one and the same, friend. I don't think that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. But then I also remember there's also kids that are not.
Well,
then I feel bad about that.
Kids,
I feel genuinely bad about it. I had this happen to me once. Not nearly the same amount of money because it was a different time, but I was a broke college kid. In 2001, remember, that was Cal Ripken's final season, and his final game was to be in Baltimore on a Sunday afternoon. And then 9/11 occurred, and they canceled a week's worth of baseball games and moved them to the end of the season. Now, 3 days before 9/11 occurred, my buddy Josh and I decided we were college freshmen. We had no money. We were, living off ramen noodles. We put together all the money we had to get tickets on eBay to be at, I'm sorry, it wasn't in Baltimore. It was supposed to be at Yankee Stadium, his final game. We bought tickets to his final game at Yankee Stadium for, I want to say $300 total for the 2 tickets. But again, 2001, and literally broke college kids who couldn't afford gas. And we put it out there. And when I say the thing that I'm probably the most ashamed of in my entire life is the moment where we're all sitting around watching the coverage, and I say,
you going to hell. I'll hear it.
OF, are they going to cancel the baseball games?
Going to hell, bro.
And my buddies look at me like, what is wrong with you? And I have to say, what is wrong with me?
Well, that was
that's like that Kardashians.
Why did my
internal the earring in the ocean?
People
People are starving.
Listen to me. I knew better. I knew. It's not like I really believe that was the actual. It was just in that moment it hit me, it hit me for a second that was the thing that was occurring, and I said, "Oh no, oh no!" I just said that out loud. I said it out loud where people could hear me on 9/11. I should go to hell. I really should go to hell. Because I put all that money out there.
One of the worst tragedies we could watch. It was
and I said,
my money!
I spent $150 on baseball tickets. No! Yeah, I'm a terrible.
Here's the good thing.
18-year-old Glenn Clark.
Here's the good thing about that. You at your age, your big age now.
Yes.
See.
Yes, I recognize.
See how bad.
And again,
at your little age.
I want to make it abundantly clear. After it came out of my mouth, I knew
it was bad.
I knew how bad it was.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Big Age Glenn, for understanding.
It didn't stop me from saying it in the moment. In the moment, it still came off my lips. That's
so
the way.
Maybe like 3 years later, you could have been like, "Damn, you know."
Oh no, because we couldn't sell the tickets. We weren't gonna get our money back.
Yeah.
It was the last game of the crap regular season at Yankee Stadium.
Did you end up going?
So yeah, we drove up to New York in the miserable pouring rain. We missed a Ravens game that day. Pouring rain to watch a terrible Orioles team play, and I think Cal only had he only took one at bat in the game. One at bat, and then was just like.
You did see him.
But it wasn't even the final game. It was just his final game at Yankee Stadium.
Okay.
That's all it was. Legally, here's the only thing: it legally ended in a tie. Straight shoot. The game was so irrelevant that they finished it because it was raining and it was miserable, and they called the game, and they said we'll only make it up if it matters in the standings. So legally speaking, it went down as a tie. So
Is that the only tie?
I don't know if it's the only one. I've meant over the years to go back and look at. I have seen a baseball game
because I literally somebody was
in a tie.
Somebody who didn't know baseball was like, "Can they tie?" I was like, "It's never happened."
Not to my knowledge, anyway.
Yep.
You have to finish it. I thought. I thought it had to resume.
I believe the way that it works is they just don't count it. They don't.
The game's a wash.
Essentially, it doesn't count.
You might as well have not played.
Yep.
That is wild.
But very wild.
I gotta go back. I gotta go back and find out exactly how because all I remember is we left, and then they said they never completed the game, and they're only going to complete it if they get the Monday, and it mattered for the Yankees in the standings, and it did. And so,
all right.
Wow. Ready for another one?
Yes. Next one.
College football has
here
done
it is.
What the NFL wouldn't.
Enough. We've moved on.
September 30th, 2001. Officially finished in a 1-1 tie. Go ahead.
That's crazy, though.
Okay, now search if there have been any other ties.
Thank you.
Yes. Now do that.
Now, what has the college football organizations done that the NFL hasn't? They have adopted a straight seeding for the college football playoff starting this year. The 4 major conference champions and the top group of 5 champion will all still make the playoff, but the 4 teams ranked the highest will receive the top 4 seeds, whether they win their conference or not.
Okay.
There continues to be a push to up the field to 16 teams.
Now, I like this. I know I've sat here and been like,
you're not really concerned about this in the NFL.
No, because I think that the NFL is a level playing field as opposed to college football, which is not a level playing field. I think that the Big Ten and the SEC are the creme de la creme, and then everybody else is everybody else. So I like this because strength of schedule matters. That's it for me. Strength of schedule matters. ACC is ass, okay? It's Clemson, Miami, and then whoever else.
SMU got in last year.
Well, yes, they did. But what I was about to say is there'll be teams that you'll see a Boston College or or Syracuse.
You would think
think
that at some point Florida State will figure it out, but
okay,
I don't
Florida
know.
State 2 years ago was a good team, so a good program. So you got to bring in Florida State at some point. I guess the point is after those. And I'm saying Miami now, but Miami just got good last year, and they had Cam Ward. They got, what's his name, Beck now, Carson Beck. We don't even know if they're going to be good this year.
That's right, Carson Beck.
So my thing is that you got 2 teams. You can pick Clemson and then whoever between Florida State and Miami. And then you'll find a team that'll have a surprising year where they're good or they're competitive, but they're not that good. Let's be clear, right? And then you'll have the SEC that has all of these teams because of the talent level that they have. Then you have the Big Ten because they merge with the Pac-12. So for me, this makes sense more than the NFL because the NFL is a salary cap driven league and it's supposed to be equal equity, whereas college football does not have that. It's 2 conferences and everybody else. So here, you should get in your conference championship. You should absolutely play. But when Oregon played Ohio State, I was like, this is stupid. Did you not think that?
No, they definitely weren't. They shouldn't have been. I agree that the seating was wrong. I agree that it was
wrong because
right. They gave Boise State and Arizona State
the
2 top 4 seeds.
Right.
Yes. The all 4 teams that got first round byes lost in the quarterfinals.
This is true, and there's a reason for that.
All 4 teams because
Yep.
it was seeded incorrectly.
Yep.
Right. All that being said, look, this to me in a way is obvious, with the flip side being it's also always capitulating to the SEC. And that's one of
Big
the
10,
issues
you gotta
that
add Big 10 too, though.
somewhat to the Big Ten, but the SEC is where everything starts, right? Like the conversation starts with, and Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC, kind of flapping his gums this week
Yes, he did.
because he realizes he's where the power begins.
Yes.
To some extent, I, of course, think that it makes more sense rank the teams by how actually good they are and then go play the games. I completely agree with that. On the flip side, I always worry about giving when it comes to the SEC because that tends to mean they want to take more. And then they say, well, if we won this one without any pushback, then how easy it's going to be when we say, and we need 5 spots guaranteed in the playoffs moving forward.
If
and
you got 16, I mean, that's going to happen anyway.
There's
It
always,
doesn't matter.
I always, to me, this is like.
Yes, a third of them are probably going to be SEC teams.
This goes back to like what they're kind of mad about the seeding thing. What they're really mad about is that you left Alabama out. That's what they're really mad about.
Well, no, the
like,
16 games is what the Alabama thing is going to be.
But we'll see when they go to 16. They're going to go to 16.
I know. So
but
what
it
I'm
always
saying
comes
is
to
that
me as like
the Alabama thing is about it being 12 teams and not 16.
Inherently, is this the right thing to do? Absolutely, it's the right thing to do. Do I always think to myself, if this is what the SEC wants, then I don't want to do it? There's a small part of me that always thinks, like, if the SEC wants it, let's do something else.
Fair.
Because they always get their way, and they always want a little bit more until it's just SEC and nobody else.
I mean, but they bring in the money, unfortunately.
I understand.
So that's,
I
you
understand.
You got to go with the working
I
wheel. And the working
understand
wheel
the way
is
that
the
it
SEC.
As somebody
and
that loves work so much, go with the
Yeah.
working
Yeah,
wheel.
yeah.
Wheel. You know what I'm saying?
Then what I would say is go to work, Alabama. Show up on a Tuesday, win a game, and then get into the playoff.
I agree with
That's
you
how
there.
I feel about
That's
it.
how I
for
feel
a
about
while.
that. Lost to some Michigan backups, but
Yeah.
y'all want to tell me Jalen
Yeah.
Milroe
Yeah,
reminds you of
got it.
Lamar Jackson. Get out
Got
of my
it.
face.
Get in there.
Get out of my
Spin
face.
that wheel. Getting the whole distance out of that wheel. He's never missing a click.
As we're recording this show just before Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals, there will be a major change in tonight's game. But it's not that serious because it's John Halliburton. Tyrese's father will be back in attendance. He's been allowed back in the arena for home games only after an on-court incident involving Giannis Antetokounmpo when the Pacers clinched their first-round series.
I love the fact that you can say his last name because I can.
Well, he
I
thinks he
just
said
call
his
him
last
Giannis.
name.
Antetokounmpo?
Yeah, that's about right.
It's
That's about
it's
right.
close.
Yeah, that's about right.
You got it pretty good. I can't say I can't. I just said I praised you.
Yeah, we just say Giannis. That's the way that it works around here. We just say Giannis. That's all it is.
When I worked in soccer radio, I had to
yeah.
they had to do a live read for a different station, and they were like, "How do you say this dude's name?" And it was two old British men, so we spent a long time on phonetics.
Yes, hey, I like that.
Look, was the thing with Giannis a bad look? Yeah, it was a bad look. He was out of line. There's no question that he was out of line for all of that, right? Like, did we maybe make a little bit too much of it? Like, nobody got hurt. It wasn't World War. It shouldn't have happened. And if the answer had been he's not allowed on the floor moving forward, I think that would have been a fine solution.
Yeah.
That they straight up told the man he wasn't allowed to come to the basketball games anymore. That's a lot, right? Like, that was.
I mean, they can
always-
do whatever they want, man. I mean, you
I
caused
know.
disruption.
Or just make it a couple the next game or something like that. Like, it didn't have to be indefinitely. And I was just like, look, you lucky you ain't get your ass beat. What's his name? John?
John Halliburton.
Mr. John H. You lucky you didn't get your ass beat.
Yep.
Okay? So, you definitely need some type of punishment. You need to go sit in that corner.
Because,
okay?
like, dude, he's
But-
lucky he didn't get his ass beat when you're looking up.
100%.
But
Like
but indefinitely, I thought was too much, right? And also, so ultimately, this comes to Giannis being one of the stars of the league that it happened with. Because if this was just some dude, I don't think this goes the way that it goes. It being a playoff game, and then it being televised and like us having a conversation, everything gets sensationalized in today's world. Things get blown out of proportion, and him getting an indefinite ban was one of those things. Did he deserve some type of, repercussion to his actions? Absolutely. Indefinitely, no. I'm glad to see that the man is back, but you better be on your best behavior, and I don't see the point of having people like that on the court any damn way. If you ain't paid real money to be out there, and you're not.
Well, I don't really know why anybody's on. Why is anybody on the court that isn't a player?
That's just
right?
what they do.
Like,
I mean,
how?
What do they call it in on the Knicks? with the famous people?
Oh, like Celebrity Row
Celebrity
or something
Row.
like that.
I mean, they all the courtside people. So what I'm saying is,
but that's like I have no problem.
those people are paying money.
If your seat is in the front row, be in the front row. What I'm saying is, when the game is over, you're not allowed to come on the floor just because you have a seat in the front row.
I completely agree with that, and I don't even understand how like the security just allowed that to like.
Remember
play out
who
as
was
long
it?
as
Who was
did.
it? The Houston.
Houston GM.
No. We were talking about with Ty. Was it Hakeem Olajuwon that wasn't allowed on the floor?
Yeah.
Because they were like, dude, you're not.
Yep.
It
was him.
You're
Yeah,
not
during
on the team.
during the Final Four tournament.
He was at the game and he wanted to come like celebrate because they beat
they
Duke,
wouldn't let him.
and they were like, bro, you're not on the team. And look, I understand. We all see that and you're like, bro, do you not know who Hakeem Olajuwon is? Like, really? But at the same time, like, I kind of appreciate it, which is
because you know what that person was doing? Their job.
Yes, they were. They went to work that
They
day.
be the main ones that
They
be
went to
overdoing
work
it.
that
Look,
day.
all I
They
gotta
be
say
overdoing their
is if
job.
it's my dad, if it was my dad
Mhm.
that made that sort of scene, I'm telling my dad.
And this is where
No.
I think this is what's
you can have a
interesting
box
about
seat,
this.
right?
This is exactly. I think that Tyrese Halliburton knows that his dad needed to be checked a
And
little
he
bit.
said
Yeah,
it
he
numerous
did.
times.
He said.
Right in the press conference,
And
he's
so,
like, I don't know what he was
because
doing,
I don't
man.
think this required this. I think in a way Tyrese Halliburton was totally fine with them saying nah. I think he was probably
he
in a
was
place.
embarrassed.
He
And
was
he's
just
not going
like-
to punish his own dad.
Right,
Somebody
like-
else yell at my
Yeah,
dad.
yeah.
Get somebody else.
Somebody
to
else
do
yell
it.
at this
So
guy.
I think this kind of works out on every level. Where like Tyrese is like, dude, thank you. Like, thank you. We needed to do this. But then at some point, like, this is also my dad. I don't want him to be banned.
Yeah.
Right.
I just want him to like
Get checked.
recalibrate.
Be checked.
Yeah, just be checked. And this allowed for that. And apparently that's the deal. He's not going to be on the floor. He's going to sit in a suite.
Okay,
That's
so
where his ass should have been
Exactly
to begin
right.
with.
let's go over under how many camera shots in
Oh.
the entirety of the game.
6.
6.
The line
In
is
the first
6.
quarter.
Yeah, in the first quarter,
Yeah,
literally.
right?
Yeah, but after that, I mean, now the thrill is gone after
Well,
the first quarter.
That is
unless
If it's
they
a
win.
yeah,
If
or
they
unless
win, then-
Tyrese is
or-
hitting big shots in the
Yes,
second
yep.
half, and then
Alright.
they're gonna cut back
And
up.
John's loving it up in the suites.
Right?
Yeah.
So what were we saying? 12?
I'm
Yeah.
thinking easily, I'm talking at 15.
Yeah, I think I was gonna say teens was gonna be my number.
Damn.
Yeah, teens. Yep.
Oh, you know,
100%.
sensationalize it, baby.
It's
Let me
the
get more
story now.
shots
I mean,
of the
this
story.
Ain't
Also,
Taylor Swift
but wait, this
now.
game's
This ain't
remember
Taylor
this
Swift.
game's in Indiana. They're not gonna have Ben Stiller and
Fair.
Waka Flocka
This
Flame
is
and
fair.
they're not gonna
And
have
Timothy, say his name.
Chalamet.
There we go.
Chalamet. They're not gonna have the
Who?
mega. Yeah.
Timothy Chalamet?
Oh, okay.
There was
White
a
Boy
there was-
Wonder?
I didn't hear
No,
Timothy.
there was a
at first.
bit from, I think Nikki Glazer was
Okay.
like, your name sounds like something that Adam Sandler would say.
That's fine.
And then they cut to Adam Sandler in the
No.
crowd, and Adam Sandler's like, Chalamet!
I thought that you said Charlemagne.
Oh,
That's why I
no,
was
no.
like, who?
I don't even think he's big enough in New York to get on Celebrity Row. I don't think he is.
He thinks he is.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I say
Um,
into our podcast mix.
All right, one more.
One more?
All right, very good. One more spin. This is never going to be a 1 hour show. We're never getting it to 1 hour. It's never happening. Yep.
Here's a topic I'm not sure we've discussed before. Here's how the story is being reported by the New York Post. A mysterious metallic sphere that was recovered after flying through the air in Colombia has left scientists baffled, with many speculating it is a UFO.
Oh, Lord, please pick me up.
The bizarre sphere was recorded flying over the town of Buga in western part of the country in March before landing and being confiscated. The orb, which reportedly weighed about 4.5 pounds and was cold to the touch when found, had etched into it a series of ancient-looking symbols, including runes and characters from the Orgam and Mesopotamian writing systems. Locals claim that the object is of alien origin, and even researchers admit that they cannot say where it came from. The sphere has, quote, no welds or joints, those being the typical indication that it was made by humans, according to Dr. Jose Luis Vasquez, a radiologist hired to examine the sphere.
Oh, Lord, you telling me there's human life somewhere else? I want to be picked up so bad. Columbia, you were supposed to come to Columbia, Maryland, not Columbia,
Bogota.
the country.
What are you doing in Bogota?
Bogota. I don't live there. I live here. Here.
You
I
are
can
constantly
drive to-
asking.
I could drive to Columbia.
I was
and
just there
meet
on
you
Saturday.
there. Like, what is going on? I want to be picked up.
Oh, man.
Pick me up.
Where are you, by the way? Kayla's right. We have never talked about this. My wife, every couple of days, is like, do you think there's anything? Do you? And I was like, I don't know. Maybe.
Mute the TV.
I did. I'm muting it. Calm down.
Sorry, I got Will Ferrell in the
Believe it or
background.
not, I actually want to know what's going on with the Orioles.
I do,
still.
and they losers. Go ahead.
Oh, damn.
Spoiler.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Whenever she asked me, I'm like, maybe there is.
What, life?
Yeah.
We would have to be fools to think in a galaxy that we're the only humans in this galaxy.
But every time something like this,
in the whole orbit of life.
every time something like this happens, I think there's actually an explanation for this. It's never as cool as we want it. It sounds like, oh, this is the one. This is proof. And then, like, every time, it's never that much fun. It's never that much fun.
Is it that
it's like,
is it not that much fun because you choose to not believe it's that
no,
much
because
fun?
we eventually get an answer one day, and because it's less interesting. Like, it's like those drones in New Jersey
but I never knew,
that everybody was freaking
knew
out
that
about.
Wasn't no UFO.
Right? Like, we
the
do
ones
this.
from back in the day when we ain't had drones, I believe them. I believe them sightings.
I believe them. I absolutely believe
we have
it's
too much technology in today's world for me to believe stuff like
right.
that.
I absolutely believe it's possible that there's alien, whatever you want to call it, other life forms. But I always think that whenever we get something like this, we just want to be excited about it, and it's always going to prove to be a far more simple explanation.
You are not fun at parties. I continue to be excited. This is the propaganda that I will choose to believe in. This is the propaganda on the internet I choose to believe in. I believe someone is searching for me. Okay? And if you need my address, let me know so you can pick me up.
Hey, aliens, go to work.
Go to work.
Go to work.
You know, unlike us Americans, the aliens probably do go to work.
All right, there you go. Good wheel. Let's do this. Oh, you guys got to fill time for a second because there's something else.
Yeah. Oh, there is?
Yeah, I got to get
You do this too.
Well, I also need a knife, friend. Yeah, knife, plates, and all right, so Glenn bought the pickle glazed sandwich from Popeyes. Now, I don't know, Caleb, if this is a new sensation like how the chicken sandwich first came out. Remember?
I remember.
COVID, and everybody was lined up, and we made a big deal about it on the internet. And honestly, in my opinion, that sandwich was as advertised. I thought that it was legit. I just thought that, we just as people, we just do everything the most. But that sandwich was good.
I thought that sandwich was great.
It was great.
What I need is that whole chicken dipped in that sauce. Not a little on the bun.
Right.
Glazed.
Like
we're talking here.
So I think that this is the same sandwich. It looks as if it's the same sandwich as the chicken sandwich that came out in COVID.
Okay.
But it's drenched in like pickle glaze.
Okay.
Because when you open it, it just smells pickly.
Yeah,
smell it. And what else do you have?
Also doing pickle lemonades at Popeyes right now.
So good.
They have a chilled and a frozen. Because we don't really have a freezer here, I didn't get the frozen. I just got the chilled. So I've got that too. And, you know what? I got something for you guys. I've already tried it, but I figured you guys would want to try it.
Okay, bring it in.
Entertain us. Regale us with a tale.
Oh, regale us with the tale. I actually did the, what do they call that? I guess I'll call it the gauntlet. When everybody was like, which chicken sandwich is best? Yeah, I did it. I was part of the sheep movement.
What'd you do?
I went to Chick-fil-A. I went to Popeyes. Oh my God! Is this from your chip extravaganza?
I do Memorial Day weekend. The Clarks and our friends the Gatsby's.
I do want to say here.
We get together and we. I didn't take a picture of it.
Well, it's too late now.
I do want to say, Glenn, that I keep up with that every year because you guys bring crazy flavors out.
I go to the extreme.
I want to say if it's a scale of 1 to 10, correct?
Yes.
You have never cracked an 8.
That's not true.
At least in the past 2 years?
We let the kids vote, too. You got to understand. Here are the things. We tried.
Who lets kids vote, dude? We literally have a whole thing in place to not let kids.
Settle down.
Their taste buds ain't even mature enough.
We tried
like candy.
19 different things this weekend. I gave an 8.5 to the Utz lemonade chips.
There is no way.
It was not my winner from the weekend, though. My winner from the weekend, everyone's winner from the weekend, was from the Kettle Brand Company.
Love.
The flavor is called chamoy or chamoy. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. It's CHAMOY. It's a Mexican flavor.
Yeah, it sounds like chamoy.
It is unbelievable. Kettle chamoy was the big winner for the weekend. I also gave high props and a 9 to the Valentina and Lime chips from the Lay's Corporation.
Okay.
So you are wrong, sir.
Something from Lay's got a 9.
I gave it very high marks. Very high marks. Now, that all said, we'll do this one at a time. I believe we begin with the sandwich.
Okay.
This is the... Oh, thank you. This is the pickle glaze sandwich from Popeyes. Sandwich
It smells very pickly.
in 3, 2, 1.
I'm getting a lot of chicken flavor, not a lot of pickle.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not getting a lot of the pickle flavor.
I'm not getting a lot of pickle here. I see it.
I'm getting some pickle.
No, there's a pickle on here.
I don't have pickle, ironically.
Oh, there's some. Hold on. You gotta attack the sauce. It's just like the spicy sandwich. They definitely did not glaze this.
But
This
it's
is
like
false
a
advertising.
it's like a sweet pickle.
This is not as
I'm still
advertised.
not getting a lot of it. I'm being honest with you. I'm 2 bites in. I'll have another.
We gotta find it.
Like, I see it on the bottom there. Like I see the glaze, but
It's just not as pickly as I thought it would
I love when we do sandwiches because I get like a half a meal.
be. And then you get the chips, you can get a whole meal.
look, I'm disappointed by it. I can't lie.
I did not have high hopes, so it definitely didn't.
I like pickle things so much. Like I want it to be great.
You
more
do
than I
love pickle
expect it
things.
to be great. Rita,
I mean,
scale
I'd eat it.
of 1 to 10.
That works.
Please hit a home run, Gunnar Henderson. How many? Please hit a home run, Gunnar Henderson. Are you giving?
I'm gonna give it a 6.
Okay.
I mean, it's not. It. I do taste some pickle. It's not. I would like more, which is why I'm giving it a 6 because I think that. But it's. I would eat that. Like I would order that. So
Okay.
I'm just disappointed that it's not. I would like more.
That's where I am. Go ahead.
And
Caleb.
honestly, that's what's gonna shift me below the 5 mark. I'm giving it a 4.5
Damn.
because of false advertising.
That's where I am.
That's
It's
it.
not though, cause you.
It
taste
ain't glazed.
Well,
it ain't glazed.
Nobody's ordering
not
this
gla-
because
it's
they
just-
want a hint
It's
of
just
pickle.
not glazed enough. That's
Yes.
all.
You're ordering this because you want to be smacked with the pickle flavor. That's what you want. I've said this a million times about everything that's.
Maybe we're the problem, Glenn. Maybe we have too many expectations for pickles, and maybe pickle flavored
But
stuff, and it's just never gonna
It's
be.
they don't make the product. Just don't make it.
It's just never gonna be.
You
what it's
don't
gonna
need
be.
to half-ass these things.
Well, maybe, but I think the problem is that people are afraid of making something too pickly, and then people don't like it.
Then they'll just order a chicken sandwich, which you have on your menu.
I mean, I'm saying, look, it tastes more than just having pickles. Cause I didn't have a pickle on my sandwich. Y'all did, and I didn't. So I
you
taste
got a
the
lot of
pickle.
pickle.
I taste the pickle glaze. It's just not enough.
All right. I'm disappointed by 4.5 is the correct score. I'm disappointed. Now the chilled pickle lemonade from Popeyes to wash
I can't
it
believe
down.
we're trying this.
Smells. I can smell it.
It smells more like lemonade to me than it does like.
All right, let's
Smells
go.
like both.
3, 2, 1.
That got a
Whoa.
pickle kick.
That actually is a pretty good combination of the 2 flavors.
Throw some tequila in this bad boy.
Lay that down, shorty.
Woo!
Oh.
My problem with lemonade anymore is it's just sugar, right? Like, and you don't realize that until like a certain point in your life
I
where you're
don't
like,
drink
you
lemonade.
can't drink this because it's just nothing but sugar.
I don't even like lemonade.
This is refreshing.
It's not. It's really.
But like, I really like that cucumber lime Gatorade.
I like cucumber lime water, so that makes sense to
And
me.
so hitting this, I'm like, that's sweet and a little bit of
That's
sour.
okay. It's okay. It's okay. Is
Well,
all
I
I'll say.
don't-
I don't like lemonade like anymore. So
I don't like
it's
lemonade
a tough thing
either.
for me. But like, if I did, I think that's decent. Rita, on a scale of okay, maybe next time, Gunners.
I'm gonna give this a 5.5. I mean, I don't like lemonade either, but I do think that it's tasty, and I agree. If you put some tequila in it, preferably, I'm going all the way out. I want some jalapeno.
Ooh, I like that.
That takes it right where it
Yeah,
needs
that's-
to be,
that
I
is gonna
bet.
be- yeah, so this is a good mixer. I would not drink this by itself, but this would be a really good mixer.
Caleb.
Based on that line of thought, I'm going to give it a 7.5.
Whoa.
Because I would love to serve a mixed drink like this at my party. Jalapeno tequila with pickle lemonade.
Sounds good.
That smells
You want
really
to buy?
good.
You want to buy some?
I think I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna split the difference. It's a 6.5. That's fine. That's a solid. Again, I'm not gonna because I don't drink lemonade. I'm not gonna ever have it again in my life.
Yeah.
But like, if I was a younger man, I could see myself saying that's a little bit better than a lemonade. Like, maybe I'm selling this shit. Maybe it's a 7. I'll give it a 7. Now that I'm talking it through, 7. We don't have to score those because I've already tried them. It's cheating. But if you'd like to try the Utz lemonade chips, and you can just give me your opinion. I gave it a I gave it an 8.5. 8.5 was my score. The complaint from some of the folks who tried them is that they thought they were too sweet.
So they're sweet.
I didn't think they were that sweet. You tell me your opinion on the Utz lemonade chips.
Ready?
I'd say 8.5.
Burn in hell.
I don't like it.
All right, then. Some of us just have more sophisticated palates, I guess. That's just what it is. Some of us are just a little bit more cultured than others.
What
That's
the
the way that it
hell
works.
is that?
Nasty.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
That's nasty. I don't like it.
No, dude.
Well,
that's
then we're
getting-
just going to go ahead and wrap things up.
Yeah, that's gonna get like
thank you
a
to.
from me, man. Oh God,
Look, man, this is why you all can't work for half the week. This is the way that it goes. Some of us are just more cultured.
He trusts children's
way.
taste buds over
Apparently.
adult
no,
taste
I
buds.
disagree.
Glenn's trying to get kids to
Children.
vote
I gave
and kids to work. And he's
the
trying to
record,
change the,
I
trying
gave
to
the
change
highest
the labor
score,
laws.
I gave the highest score of everyone, including the children. The children didn't much
So
like it.
so you're the problem. Sounds to me.
Are we talking about what we're into this week?
What's that?
Are we talking about what we're into?
That's what this segment was. Oh, you want to add to it?
Add
Other
to
things
it.
you're into?
You know,
Cool,
because
by all
we
means.
used to do that.
We did
you
used
know?
to do that.
We
We stopped
like,
doing that.
I
Caleb, we stopped doing that some time ago. It required us to actually.
Sometimes we do it. Sometimes
It
we
required
don't.
us to
Don't listen
really
him,
prep
Caleb.
the
I
show.
know,
Sometimes
right?
we did it.
Yeah. Okay, so I would like to shout out this week.
Yes.
The shirt I'm wearing is from 2 collab designers that I'm really close friends with. The first
That's
designer,
Fred Flintstone.
it's a Slum Stone. So Slum Paradise is one brand, and
Okay.
then Sanul is the other brand.
Okay.
This is an unreleased t-shirt that'll be going out live for our second Flip Space event that we're doing, and you can get this for the low price of $10.
It looked like if Fred Flintstone was at a grunge party.
I love it. I love the little guy.
I do like that.
It's like a mashup of both their guys or whatever.
Oh, that's
I just
dope.
want to shout out the
Very
guys.
cool.
Thanks for
Okay.
giving me their stuff to wear.
All right, dope.
Mhm.
Well,
Re-
I was gonna be into going to the Roots picnic, but D'Angelo's not gonna be there. So,
Oh.
so now I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do. But one thing about me, I'm always figure it out. So it is just fine.
I'm continuing my White Boy Summer. I've already started
What
my
does that-
White
what
Boy
does that
Summer.
mean?
I went to see Sturgill Simpson over the weekend
Okay.
to kick off White Boy Summer. I'm following it up. This is a straight shoot this Saturday night. I will be seeing. It's been a long time. It's been a long time since I've done something like this white. I will be seeing the Dave Matthews Band.
Oh, that's gonna be cool though.
Oh, let's go,
It's
dude.
gonna be cool.
I just hope he.
No, it's a very difficult subject for me. I had a problem when I was a younger man. I was one of those guys that smoked a lot of weed and like spent the summer with the Dave Matthews Band. I've been to over 100 Dave Matthews Band
Oh,
shows.
Okay.
I needed
So you
to.
a groupie?
I needed a detox. I needed
He was a
to
groupie.
get a healthy
Kinda.
You
relationship.
see, he ain't answer.
No benefits
Yeah.
though.
See, he ain't answer.
Yeah, I mean, what groupie? I mean, I tried throwing my panties.
I think they
on.
call. I think they
They
call
were
that
not
a
interested
roadie.
in my
No.
particular
no,
panties.
we call those. We actually call those moopies.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
Male groupies.
Ooh.
Well, that was the way
Ooh.
it worked. So
He's a
yes,
movie.
it's been a very long time, but my childhood best friend and I are getting to. He's driving down from Brooklyn on Saturday.
That's
Oh,
good.
that's
And
so
we're going to see
sweet, man.
Dave Matt. We're going to
You
the
going on
baseball
a
game on
date.
Friday.
Look
We're
at
going to
that.
baseball
On
game
a
on
date.
We're going to the baseball game on Friday. We're going to the Dave Matthews
you
Band
got a
on
whole
Saturday.
weekend.
We got a whole.
You
it's
do
been
have
a
stuff
long
to
time.
look
Wife, you
forward
better
to.
watch out.
Oh, I would choose him over her every time. What are we talking about?
Again, here we
You
go
put
with the
me,
thruple
you friend
stuff.
zoned me a long time ago, man. Long time ago. I got thrown in the friend zone. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll try to keep doing them weekly as possible. So hopefully we'll be with you again next week. And hopefully, again, by that point, you have purchased us.
Yes.
Hopefully,
Right.
that's the way that it's
All
working.
of Glenn and
Is,
just
again,
some of me.
And I think Caleb most of. I think that's
Most of.
most of Caleb
Most
as well.
of,
I think
yes.
that's the way that it works.
Negotiations available.
At Ray _duh_ the NFL
NFL chick.
Gridiron Gals,
Yep.
Baltimore Beat,
Yep.
Glenn Clark Radio, glennclarkradio.com, pressboxonline.com. That's where you find us. For Caleb, for Rita, I'm Glenn. I don't know if we have to do this anymore. We can just say
Just say goodbye.
bye.